Neville Goddard, Prayer, The Art of Believing, 1945. Preface. Prayer is the master key. A key may fit one door of a house, but when it fits all doors, it may well claim to be a master key. Such and no less a key is prayer to all earthly problems. That is a wonderful preface. Chapter 1, Law of Reversibility. Pray for my soul. More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. Tennyson. Prayer is an art and requires practice. The first requirement is a controlled imagination. Parade and vain repetitions are foreign to prayer. Its exercise requires tranquility and peace of mind. Use not vain repetitions, for prayer is done in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. The ceremonies that are customarily used in prayer are mere superstitions and have been invented to give prayer an air of solemnity. Back to the previous sentence, with our wonderful example, all that is, I am God right here in the middle. Each one of us are but a self-concept, a version of all that is God. We are living our own self-concepts, and these self-concepts through prayer, we can change from one to another, whatever that might be. This sentence here, use not vain repetitions, affirmations for example, for prayer is done in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. When you go into your closet and you close the door, you shut off the senses, and you do your prayer, which means you feel it real, you impress your subconscious, that's in secret. He that seeth in secret will reward thee openly. Therefore, the manifestation. This is the reward, is the objectification of your subjective prayer that you impressed upon your consciousness, your subconscious. Those who do practice the art of prayer and are often ignorant, those who do practice the art of prayer are often ignorant of the laws that control it. They attribute the results obtained to the ceremonies and mistake for the letter. I'm falling off the wagon on that. The wheel fell off the wagon on that sentence. They attribute the results obtained to the ceremonies and mistake the letter for the spirit. The essence of prayer is faith. But faith must be permeated with understanding to be given that active quality which it does not possess when standing alone. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. This book is an attempt to reduce the unknown to the known by pointing out the conditions on which prayers are answered, and without which they cannot be answered. It defines the conditions governing prayer in laws that are simply a generalization of our observations. The universal law of reversibility is the foundation on which its claims are based. Mechanical motion caused by speech was known for a long time before anyone dreamed of the possibility of an inverse transformation. That is, the reproduction of speech by mechanical motion, the phonograph. For a long time, electricity was produced by friction without ever a thought that friction in turn could be produced by electricity. Whether or not man succeeds in reversing the transformation of a force, he knows nevertheless that all transformation of force are reversible. If heat can produce mechanical motion, so mechanical motion can produce heat. If electricity produces magnetism, magnetism too can develop electric currents. If the voice can cause undulatory currents, so can currents reproduce the voice. And so on. Cause and effect, energy and matter, action and reaction are the same and interconvertible. I saw something somewhere today on YouTube, and the gal made a comment, says that action is faster than reaction. And of course, in the Seth material, every action changes every other action. But it did stick in me when I heard that action is quicker than reaction, because reaction is absorbing that action and then reacting to it. So there's two things happening. There's the original action, then there's another action following that. So action is faster than reaction. Cause and effect, energy and matter, action and reaction are the same and interconvertible. This law is the highest importance because it enables you to foresee the universe. This law is of the highest importance because it enables you to foresee the inverse transformation once the direct transformation is verified. If you knew how you would feel were you to realize your objective, then inversely, you would know what state you could realize were you to awaken in yourself such feeling. The injunction to pray, believing that you already possess what you pray for, is based upon a knowledge of the law of inverse transformation. If you realized prayer produces in you a definite feeling or state of consciousness, then inversely that particular feeling or state of consciousness must produce your realized prayer. Because all transformation of force are reversible, you should always assume the feeling of your fulfilled wish. You should awaken within you the feeling that you are and have that which heretofore you desire to be and possess. This is easily done by contemplating the joy that would be yours were your objective an accomplished fact, so that you live and move and have your being in the feeling that your wish is realized. It makes great sense. I am happily married. What does it feel like to be happily married? I am happily married. I am, even though I'm in my single self, I'm not married, I stake that claim, I am happily married. Inversely, even though you're staking your claim and you're not it, when you claim it, it is the inverse production of being it. Because when you stake that claim, you stake this claim here, I am happily married, then just the feeling of it in this place where you are not that, but you feel that. This objectification is inversely creating the reality for you, even though you're standing right here in the single state. The reality itself is as if it's coming back to you. Because when you create it in 4D, it is real. It is real. Make no mistake about that, understanding that reality is in your imagination. Reality is in what you feel to be real. That's what's real. So since in your 3D self, while you're falling asleep, making the impression into your subconscious, you're creating the reality. The reality is real. And once it objectifies and becomes real when you wake up, that's what's sending back to you. It's a law of reversibility. The injunction to pray, believing that you already possess what you pray for, is based upon a knowledge of the law of inverse transformation. If your realized prayer produces in you a definite feeling or state of consciousness, then inversely that particular feeling or state of consciousness must produce your realized prayer. Because all transformation of force are reversible, you should always assume the feeling of your fulfilled wish. You should awaken within you the feeling that you are and have that which you heretofore you desired to be and possess. I know we're repeating, but it's like a verse and a chorus, all right? This is easily done by contemplating the joy that would be yours were your objective and accomplished fact, so that you live and move and have your being in the feeling that your wish is realized. The feeling of the wish fulfilled, if assumed and sustained, must objectify the state that would have created it. The feeling of the wish fulfilled, if assumed and sustained, must objectify the state that would have created it. This would have created it, and there's the feeling. It's very fascinating. It's the objectification of the state is what helps create the feeling that you're having here. There is no time, there's only now. So this makes complete sense when you think about this the feeling of the wish fulfilled. There's the wish fulfilled objectified, but the feeling here, if assumed and sustained, must objectify the state that would have created it. It's all now. This is now. Once you feel it real, it is now. It is done, is another way to say that. It is. This law explains why faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, and why he calleth things that are not seen as though they were, and things that were not seen become seen. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and continue feeling that it is fulfilled until that which you feel objectifies itself. Continue the feeling until that which you wish for is objectified. It objectifies itself. You need not be concerned with how it just does. If a physical fact can produce a psychological state can produce a physical fact. If the effect A can be produced by the cause B, then inversely the effect B can be produced by the cause A. Therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye have received them, and ye shall have them. Mark 11:24. What a wonderful, wonderful chapter. Law of reversibility. Oh, it's very fascinating. If the last piece is very, very, if the effect A, this is the effect, you with the wish to be fulfilled that I am happily married. This is, excuse me, if the effect, the effect is here. If the effect A can be produced by the cause B, the cause is putting the impression into your subconscious. If the effect can be produced by the cause B, this is A, this is B, then inversely the effect B here can be produced by the cause A. Let me make sure I got that correct. If the effect A can be produced by the cause B, because we know this is how we do it, we go to sleep in sats and we impress our subconscious, then inversely the effect B, okay, this will be the effect also, can be produced by the cause A. So you can see how either one produces the other. Oh my gosh, man, it's very dense to get your head wrapped around it, but it makes good sense. When you feel it real, it creates the experience of it. And what else do you have but your experience of it to remind you of the feeling? Again, back to the pizza. If you order the pizza and it comes and you're eating the pizza, you're in your mind very satisfied because you're chewing and you're swallowing and you're done eating it and you put the dishes away. And now you're like, oh, that feels exactly like what I had hoped for and what I imagined before I picked up the phone. One causes the other, and the other causes that one back. That feeling of being satisfied by the pizza is the same thing you were expecting to feel when and before you picked up the phone. So the cause, the effect, also the effect and the cause. The effect being your desire for the pizza, but the cause being the satisfaction, the relief, the end. Very fascinating. Wow, prayer, chapter 1. We'll see you in the next video. Neville Goddard. Prayer, chapter 2, dual nature of consciousness. A clear concept of the dual nature of man's consciousness must be the basis of all true prayer. Consciousness includes a subconscious as well as a conscious part. The infinitely greater part of consciousness lies below the sphere of objective consciousness. The subconscious is the most important part of consciousness. It is the cause of voluntary action. The subconscious is what a man is. The conscious is what a man knows. The subconscious is what a man is. The conscious is what a man knows. I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. The conscious and subconscious are one, but the subconscious is greater than the conscious. Very fascinating. I am all that is God right here. These are our self-concepts. What I am, what I want to be, what you are, what you want to be. This is the self-concept of myself right now, but I desire to be that. I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. The conscious and subconscious are one, but the subconscious is greater than the conscious. Let's go with this. Let's play with these symbols. The conscious and subconscious are one within each of us, but the conscious and subconscious are one, but the subconscious is greater than the conscious. The conscious and subconscious are one, but the subconscious is greater than the conscious. These are the effects of my self-concept. These are the outside. This is my subconscious on the inside as you're falling asleep and you're making the impression. Your conscious self makes the impression to your subconscious self. The father and the mother, the outer and the inner, positive and the negative, the masculine and the feminine. They are one. My conscious and subconscious are one, but my subconscious is greater than my conscious. My Father and I are one, but my Father is greater than I. I is the subconscious. In our example, you are the conscious in this self-concept. This is the subconscious, you are the conscious. The conscious and subconscious are one, but the subconscious is greater than the conscious. Same thing. My Father and I are one, but my Father is greater than I. Okay? I of myself can do nothing. The Father within me, He doeth the work. I, objective consciousness of myself, can do nothing. The Father, the subconscious, He doeth the work. The subconscious is that in which everything is known, in which everything is possible, to which everything goes, from which everything comes, which belongs to all, to which all have access. What we are conscious of is constructed out of what we are not conscious of. Not only do our subconscious assumptions influence our behavior, but they also fashion the pattern of our objective existence. They alone have the power to say, let us make man, objective manifestations, in our image, after our likeness. The whole of creation is asleep within the deep of man and is awakened to objective existence by his subconscious assumptions. Within that blankness we call sleep, there is a consciousness in unsleeping vigilance. And while the body sleeps, this unsleeping being releases from the treasure house of eternity the subconscious assumptions of man. Prayer is the key which unlocks the infinite storehouse. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Prayer modifies or completely changes our subconscious assumptions, and a change of assumption is a change of expression. The conscious mind reasons inductively from observation, experience, and education. It therefore finds it difficult to believe what the five senses and induction reason deny. The subconscious reasons deductively and is never concerned with the truth or falsity of the premise, but proceeds on the assumption of the correctness of the premise and objectifies results which are consistent with the premise. This distinction must be clearly seen by all who would master the art of praying. Let's go back. It gets very deep in the soup right here. The conscious mind reasons inductively from observation, experience, and education. It therefore finds it difficult to believe what the five senses and inductive reason deny. The subconscious reasons deductively and is never concerned with the truth or falsity of the premise, but proceeds on the assumption of the correctness of the premise and objectifies results which are consistent with the premise. The subconscious is not going to judge whatever you are throwing at it. Whatever you impress upon the subconscious, it's going to take it and go with it. It's going to objectify that. It's going to make that your reality. You've been so good at it for so long with such a silence. You've never heard actual feedback, but you're doing it so consistently, so daily, so unconsciously. But what we're doing here is we're making a conscious awareness to this art. You are a living artist. The art that you are is consistently objectified by your subconscious self, the one that is greater than your conscious self. You are the artist. We're trying to bring to awareness how you, the artist, have been playing your art. And if you don't like your painting, you have the power to change it. It's very, very simple. We are awakening that. This distinction must be clearly seen by all who would master the art of praying. Love the word art in there, right? No true grasp of the science of prayer can be really obtained until the laws governing the dual nature of consciousness are understood and the importance of the subconscious realized. Prayer, the art of believing what is denied by the senses, deals almost entirely with the subconscious. Through prayer, the subconscious is suggested into acceptance of the wish fulfilled, and reasoning deductively, logically unfolds it to its legitimate end. Far greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. Far greater is He that is in you, that's your subconscious, than he that is in the world. Here's the world. Everything out here. Far greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. This is the Creator within you. It's hard not to jump up and celebrate and light off a million fireworks to that one statement. He that is in you is far greater than he that is in the world. When you run to your teachers out here, you're forgetting the wisdom that is in here. And especially right there. That is where wisdom comes from. Within, not without. The subjective mind is the diffused consciousness that animates the world. It is the spirit that giveth life. In all substance is a single soul, subjective mind. Through all creation runs this one unbroken subjective mind. Through all creation runs this one unbroken subjective mind. Thought and feeling fused into beliefs impress modifications upon it. Charge it with a mission, which mission it faithfully executes. You can see this another way. You can see that each self-concept, let's say these are all different people enjoying their self-concept. Each one of these people has both a subconscious and a conscious. Each one of these self-concepts, which are, let's say in this example, people. And finally, this self-concept, there's 6 of us. I have my conscious and my subconscious. You have yours, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, all have a conscious and a subconscious. Well, we all are plugged into the same source. I am all that is, God. That is representative of all consciousness. Well, we all have a subconscious which is directly plugged in. Every single one of us are plugged into the same consciousness. Every one of us. If you go out here looking for some answers, not remembering, which is all we're doing is remembering here, not remembering that all your answers are already within you. They're here within you because within you is plugged directly into the source. All that is, I am God. That's where all wisdom is. Plugged directly into you. Through all creation runs the one unbroken subjective mind. Subjective mind runs through all of us, unbroken. Thought and feeling fused into beliefs impress modifications upon it. Charge it with a mission, which mission it faithfully executes. Let me repeat that sentence. Thought and feeling fused into beliefs. Impress modifications upon it. Charge it with a mission, which mission it faithfully executes. The conscious mind originates premises. The subjective mind unfolds them to their logical ends. Were the subjective mind not so limited in its initiative power of reasoning, objective man would not be held responsible for his actions in the world. Were the subjective mind not so limited in its initiative power of reasoning, objective man could not be held responsible for his actions in the world. Man transmits ideas to the subconscious through his feeling. Man transmits ideas to the subconscious through feeling. The subconscious transmits ideas from mind to mind through telepathy. I am that. Okay, so the bridge of incidence occurs, and it seems like everybody around you is supporting you that. That's where the telepathy happens once you impress the subconscious. This subconscious is everywhere. It's everywhere. Once you impress the subconscious, it goes into all consciousness, and all consciousness is instantly. It just is instantly. The subconscious transmits ideas from mind to mind through telepathy. Your unexpressed convictions of others are transmitted to them without their conscious knowledge or consent, and if subconsciously accepted by them, will influence their behavior. This is why it is so very, very, very important to apply the golden rule at all times. Only think or do unto others that which you would want to have done unto you. Period. And I threw the think in there because it's very important. Your unexpressed convictions of others are transmitted to them without their conscious knowledge or consent, and if subconsciously accepted by them, will influence their behavior. If you're putting the impression into your subconscious that this person over here is in some way negative. I don't even want to give voice to this kind of thing, but you know you might have done this before. If you put a negative attitude into your subconscious about another, they are going to receive that message subconsciously. Not only they are going to receive that because you sent it on your telegraph, everyone else receives that you sent that telegraph as well. Everyone else is getting the same message that you sent. Your unexpressed convictions of others are transmitted to them without their conscious knowledge or consent, and if subconsciously accepted by them, will influence their behavior. They don't have to accept it, and you know where it goes if they don't accept it, right back to you. Hence the golden rule. The only ideas they subconsciously reject are your ideas of them which they could not wish to be true of anyone. If they think it's possible, if you send a negative impression to your subconscious about this person, and they consciously do not believe that that's possible of anyone, they will not accept it about themselves. Subconsciously. They will not accept it. But in fact, if they do have the same criticism of others or themselves, they will accept that negative criticism you sent their way. Because they believe it's true of others, or can be true. Let me repeat the sentence. Very powerful information right here. The only ideas they subconsciously reject are your ideas of them which they could not wish to be true of anyone. Hence the saying, I wouldn't wish that upon my enemy or my worst enemy. Whatever they could wish for others can be whatever they could wish for others can be believed by them, and by the law of belief which governs subjective reasoning, they are compelled to subjectively accept and therefore objectively express accordingly. Whatever they could wish for others can be believed of them. Whatever they believe of others can be believed of them. And by the law of belief which governs subjective reasoning is in here, okay? They are compelled to subjectively accept and therefore objectively express. If they can believe it, then they can express it. Then they impress themselves because they can believe it. Then that becomes a subconscious impression. Then they can believe it, and then therefore becomes an expression, becomes an objective. If this is their future self, they can believe it here, then they objectify it into another reality, another of their realities of experience. The subjective mind is completely controlled by suggestion. The subjective mind is completely controlled by suggestion. Ideas are best suggested when the objective mind is partly subjective. That is, when the objective senses are diminished or held in abeyance, right when you're falling asleep, SATS, state akin to sleep. This partly subjective state can be best described as controlled reverie, wherein the mind is passive but capable of functioning with absorption. It is a concentration of attention. There must be no conflict in your mind when you are praying. Turn from what is to what ought to be. Assume the mood of fulfilled desire, and by the universal law of reversibility, you will realize your desire. Whoa! What a very profound chapter, dual nature of consciousness. Goodness gracious. Prayer, the art of believing. He's really getting right in there with it. There's some fascinating pieces that unfold. I mean, that he has unfolded, especially the subconscious and all that is basically being of the same. Subconscious and consciousness is one, but the consciousness here is greater than that. That blew my mind. That's one of my favorite pieces here because it's very much, I'm sorry, it was the conscious and subconscious, but the subconscious is greater. I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. My conscious and subconscious are one, but my subconscious is greater than my conscious. The fact that they're all plugged in and instantly communicating is what I got from that. That was my absolute favorite piece, because that communication that you're making, that impression you're making onto your subconscious is instantly in the network, if you will. But if it's a negative that you send out about another, and they don't believe it's possible of anybody, it's not going to be received, and it's going to come right back to you. So you must watch that, because your self-concept is both what you think of yourself and what you think of others. And if they accept those or don't accept them, you're still having to deal with what you put out. Back to the golden rule. Wonderful chapter. That was prayer, chapter 2, dual nature of consciousness. We'll see you in the next video. Neville Goddard, Prayer, the Art of Believing, chapter 3, Imagination and Faith. We're picking up speed. Prayers are not successfully made unless there is a rapport between the conscious and subconscious mind of the operator. This is done through imagination and faith. All right, remember that we laid out, I am all that is, God, right here. These are our self-concepts. Some self-concepts we are in and we want to be in a different one. Within each self-concept, we have a conscious and a subconscious. We're going to use the symbols positive and negative to display that. There's our conscious, and there's our subconscious. Our masculine and our feminine, active and passive, male and female, the perfect couple, perfect marriage. It's within each of us. Each of us has that within. Very first sentence right here, Imagination and Faith, chapter 3. Prayers are not successfully made unless there is rapport between the conscious and subconscious mind of the operator. This is done through imagination and faith. Where does imagination exist? Right here. What do you have to do to access it? You close off the senses. You go into your I am. You right now, that quick, are in imagination. Look at any child. Look at any child waking up and going about their day. They are in imagination instantly. By the power of imagination, all men, certainly men, are forever casting forth enchantments. Excuse me, left out a word. By the power of imagination, all men, certainly imaginative men, are forever casting forth enchantments. And all men, especially unimaginative men, are continually passing under their power. Very, very, very important concept right here. And this book is getting really good. The last 2 chapters we just did, there was so much more depth in them. We could have stopped and made those videos at least an hour or 2 each because they have so much depth. And right here, we'll try and unpack a little bit more here. By the power of imagination, all men, certainly imaginative men, are forever casting forth enchantments, and all men, especially unimaginative men, are continually passing under their power. If you remember in the previous chapter, I believe it was, since we all do have an active and a passive, that means we all have a conscious and a subconscious. So we learned in that last chapter that all subconsciouses are connected together because that is how we are wired. I and my Father are one, but my Father is greater than I. The conscious and the subconscious are one, but the subconscious is greater than the conscious. And we also learned that whatever we impress our subconscious with, as far as, let's say we have an opinion or an idea or a concept of another person, and they accept or don't accept that idea we have of them, that idea still connects automatically into consciousness, which is automatically, instantly in the network. That network we are tied to. The concept that I learned from Neville was that if you're not using your imagination, someone else is. Okay? If you're not using your imagination, someone else is. Who is that someone else? Is it the news? Is it the commercial on TV that says you need to get a certain thing to be better? Whatever that thing is, I'm not even going to name names, but you know what I'm talking about. If you're not using your imagination, someone else is. If you're not putting to use what you conceive and believe, and then you achieve, which is what we've been talking about this whole time, then someone else is. So if you're not impressing your subconscious with new ideas about your ascension into new concepts of self, then this is basically a vacant space. And what is that vacant space filled with? Your subconscious. What is that filled with? It's filled with other men's ideas, other men's imaginations. That goes and fills the network, finds an empty spot here. This person's imagining for themselves, and this person's imagining for themselves, and you are not. You are not, this person's not, and this person's not. Well, this imaginative person here that puts ideas into the network gets picked up where the space is available. Where these people are using their imagination and doing their own thing, it's not picked up. But it is picked up here, here, and here. This is you not using your imagination. You're picking up other people's beliefs, other people's ideas. Very, very important sentence right there. By the power of imagination, all men, certainly imaginative men, are forever casting forth enchantments. And all men, especially unimaginative men, are continually passing under their power. Can we ever be certain that it was not our mother, while darning our socks, who began subtle change in our minds? Who began that subtle change in our minds? And we do imagine that she did so with a positive cast, a positive enchantment. But you can see there's worry in the world, and if there's worry, that can be that kind of enchantment. There's a story of Neville being his hair being brushed by his mother. I believe she was a blonde lady, and he had blonde hair as a little boy. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was what I got out of this lecture. And she was, of course, 9 boys and a girl. She was brushing his hair and telling him how he was her favorite, and how he was going to do great things, etc. And he did not learn it till way later in life that his brother also was told the same thing by his mother, which I think is wonderful. It really defines what we're talking about. If I can unintentionally cast an enchantment over persons, there is no reason to doubt that I am able to cast intentionally a far stronger enchantment. Everything that can be seen, enchantment. And you ever seen smokers gather together, people who smoke, who happen to not be smoking, and one person lights up a cigarette, and all of a sudden the other people that are non-smokers, they get that enchantment. They've opened their pack of cigarettes and they put their cigarette and they light it, and it's just like an infectious wave. There's words for that now, like triggering, whatever. These things can come through the TV, they can come through whatever, but if someone has the inclination, they will be influenced. If I can unintentionally cast an enchantment over persons, there's no reason to doubt that I am able to cast intentionally a far stronger enchantment. Everything that can be seen, touched, explained, argued over is to the imaginative man nothing more than a means, for he functions by reason of his controlled imagination in the deep of himself, where every idea exists in itself and not in relation to something else. In him there is no need for the restraints of reason, for the only restraint he can obey is the mysterious instinct that teaches him to eliminate all moods other than the mood of fulfilled desire. Imagination and faith are the only faculties of mind needed to create objective conditions. Imagination and faith are the only conditions of mind. Boom, you're influencing, you're impressing your subconscious. The only faculties of mind needed to create objective conditions. Once you impress that subconscious, objective conditions prevail. Objectification of your desire. It just happens. You're not to be concerned with how. He has ways past finding out. The faith required for the successful operation of the law of consciousness is a purely subjective faith and is attainable upon the cessation of active opposition on the part of the objective mind of the operator. Okay, let's try and break that down because it sounds heavy, but it really isn't. The faith required for the successful operation of the law of consciousness, meaning making an impression in your subconscious, the faith required, imagination and faith, the faith required is purely subjective faith. That means the faith to impress your subjective consciousness. All it is the faith necessary to make that impression upon your own subjective consciousness. It's attainable upon the cessation of active opposition on the part of the objective mind of the operator. You don't doubt. The cessation means the stopping of any actively opposing idea on the part of the objective mind. The objective mind, here's the objectification, here's the subjective. The objective mind, any opposition on the part of the objective. So here's your current self-concept. Your objective mind, does it have opposition to an idea, or does it have everything in support of a new idea? If everything is in support of the new idea, then there's definitely been a cessation of active opposition. Since there has been a cessation of active opposition, meaning the influence of the idea, which can be also in that network, everybody says you can't do something. If you do not pay attention to that, you don't have opposition to this new idea. If you, with your own energy, put that impression upon your subconscious, because you don't care what the world thinks. You don't care what's going on out here. I am happily married. I am wealthy. I am healthy. I don't care. I don't care what the network has. I don't care what the TV says. I don't care what the newspaper says. I don't care what my friends say. I don't care what my parents say. I don't care what my kids say. I have this idea, and it is in me to make objective, to objectify in my life. I don't let my imagination be under the spell or enchantment of whatever's out there, because it's in here that is where this is coming from anyway. The desire's coming from him within you to solve the problem of your limitation of your desire that's in you that you want. And that desire can be anything: health, wealth, wisdom, love, marriage, family. It could be freedom. It could be anything that is within you for a reason. The faith required for the successful operation of the law of consciousness is a purely subjective faith and is attainable upon the cessation of active opposition on the part of the objective mind of the operator. We just went over that. It depends upon your ability to feel and accept as true what your objective senses deny. Your objective senses, this is your objective self, what those senses are seeing, what's in the world, Neither the passivity of the subject nor his conscious agreement with your suggestion is necessary. Neither the passivity of the subject nor his conscious agreement with your suggestion is necessary, for without his consent or knowledge, he can be given a subjective order which he must objectively express. I believe that's like you're imagining leavenly for another. You have a friend who has a desire for a new job, as an example, and you persuade yourself that he has successfully called you and told you about that new job. The passivity of the subject nor his conscious agreement with your suggestion is necessary, for without his consent or knowledge, he can be given a subjective order which he must objectively express. He'll get that order because you are impressing your subconscious. It affects his subconscious. He'll get that order, it'll go into, and it'll be an objectification of his reality. He does not have to be conscious of that, he or she. It's a fundamental law of consciousness that by telepathy we can have immediate communion with another. Immediate, instant. To establish rapport, you call the subject mentally. Focus your attention on him and mentally shout his name just as you would to attract the attention of anyone. Focus your attention on him and mentally shout his name just as you would to attract the attention of anyone. So go in. Okay, I just did it. I'm going to let you know later. I have a friend, I believe, that will call me or text me today. Now, in my now, all right? So do this. Mentally shout his name just as you would to attract the attention of anyone. Imagine that he has answered and mentally hear his voice. Okay, so I'm doing that now. Okay, represent him to yourself inwardly in the state you want him to obtain. Then imagine that he is telling you in the tones of ordinary conversation what you want to hear. And this is, okay, I'm going to switch friends. Now that one I want to just to call me. Now I'm going to go to a different friend, and I'm going to go ahead and have him call me and tell me about his new job. Because I know he's looking right now, and I know he's impending to get one immediately. Okay, so I've got that call in. So I've got 2 calls out right now. Mentally answer him. Okay, let me finish that. Okay, I just high-fived him. I said, hey, man, that's great news. Congratulations. I just high-fived him mentally, all right? Tell him of your joy in witnessing his good fortune. I just did that. I said congratulations, and I high-fived him. Having mentally heard with all the distinctness of reality that which you wanted to hear, and having thrilled to the news heard, return to objective consciousness, which is what I did when I opened my eyes and I stopped covering my eyes. Your subjective conversation must awaken what is affirmed. Affirmed meaning that exact conversation that I had. And without fail, anytime I've done this, I get the phone call and I hear the exact words that I imagined right there, which you will too. You just need to stop and try it. Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee. It is not a strong will that sends the subjective word on its mission, so much as it is clear thinking and feeling the truth of the state affirmed. I'm not willing it, I am just hearing it. It is clear thinking and feeling, because I can feel his voice, that vibration of sound. I can feel that when I hear that. When belief and will are in conflict, belief invariably wins. Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. It is not what you want that you attract. You attract what you believe to be true. Therefore, get into the spirit of these same mental conversations and give them the same degree of reality that you would a telephone conversation. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. If you cannot believe, then all things are possible to he that can believe. Therefore I say unto you, that things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye have received them, and ye shall have them. The acceptance of the end wills the means. Never could be a more powerful sentence. The acceptance of the end, when you're here and you're accepting the end, it wills the means, which you never have to be concerned about. I mean, think about how much work you do not have to do just because you accept the end. I am that. I am married, I am. I am wealthy, I am. I am healthy, I am. You don't have to do any work. What a relief that is. You don't have to do anything to have the objectification except have the faith and the imagination. That's it. You don't have to do anything. In my Father's house are many mansions. The acceptance of the end wills the means. The acceptance of the end wills the means. How wonderful of a sentence is that? And the wisest reflection could not devise more effective means than those which are willed by the acceptance of the end. My goodness. The acceptance of the end. Mentally talk to your friends as though your desires for them were already realized. So when I went into my thing, my my closet, and I shut the door and I imagined my friend calling me, I talked to him as though my desires for them were already realized, because they were telling me that was my desire for them realized by them confirming it by telling me. Imagination is the beginning of the growth of all forms, and faith is the substance out of which they are formed. This is the main poignant part of this paragraph, of this chapter. Imagination is the beginning of the growth of all forms, and faith is the substance out of which they are formed. Goodness me. By imagination, that which exists in latency or is asleep within the deep of consciousness is awakened and is given a form. Oh, another powerful, powerful sentence. By imagination, that which exists in latency or is asleep within the deep of consciousness. Right there, that's consciousness. That's all consciousness. Consciousness, that's I am, all that is, God, Jesus Christ, Buddha, anything, divinity, all of it. That is where everything is latent. All of his creations are done. So all you're doing is awakening, which latency is asleep within the deep of consciousness, and it's given a form. You make the impression upon your subconscious, you marry the conscious and subconscious, but with that impression, form is given to by him. This is where all realities exist. All his creations are done. So then you objectify and occupy your new reality. I am that I am. I am married. I am. I'm happily in love. I am. I am wealthy. I am. I am healthy. I am. I am free. I am. Just what we've read so far, knowing you don't have to do any work except for imagine. Then how much work does that take? And faith, again, you have been doing this so successfully every single day. We're just awakening to the conscious use of this tool. It is already what you're using, or you wouldn't even be watching this video. You couldn't watch the video. You're already doing it. We're just changing our focus. The cures attributed to the influence of certain medicines, relics, and places are the effects of imagination and faith. The curative power is not in the spirit that is in them. It is in the spirit in which they are accepted. The letter killeth, but the spirit giveth life. The subjective mind is completely controlled by suggestion. So whether the object of your faith be true or false, you will get the same results. Never could be truer. The subjective mind is completely controlled by suggestion. You make the suggestion on the subjective mind, your subconscious mind. You make the suggestion. Whether the object of your faith be true or false, you will get the same results. So it doesn't matter what you suggest to your subjective self or your subjective conscious self, it is going to be true of your experience. It doesn't matter. You want rich? Do you want poor? Do you want single or do you want married? Do you want healthy or unhealthy? Whatever you influence your subjective self with is what is going to objectify. There is nothing unsound in the theory of medicine or in the claims of the priesthood for their relics and holy places. The subjective mind of the patient accepts the suggestion of health conditioned on such states, and as soon as these conditions are met, proceeds to realize health. That's why placebos are so effective. Placebos, why is it a person is all of a sudden healed with a placebo? For exactly what he's saying right here. According to your faith, be it done unto you, for all things are possible to him that believeth. Confident expectation of a state is the most potent means of bringing it about. The confident expectation of a cure does that which no medical treatment can accomplish. The confident expectation of a cure does that which no medical treatment can accomplish. Man, oh man, that's all it takes. Failure is always due to an antagonistic autosuggestion by the patient, arising from objective doubt of the power of medicine or relic, or from doubt of the truth of the theory. Many of us, either from too little emotion or too little intellect, both of which are stumbling blocks in the way of prayer, cannot believe that which our senses deny. Your senses are denying I am healthy. If you're in this effect of ill health and the doctor's telling you this, that, and the other all day, up one side and down the other, about what's happening within you, but you choose to try and become imaginative about your health and make an impact on your subconscious, but you see the reports, you see the paperwork, you see the x-ray, you see all these medicines prescribed to you, you see all that the world says about that ailment, and you believe that that has more power than your own imagination and your own faith. That's where you've looked out here too much. You've put your power where your power isn't. Your power can't be applied out here. Your power can only be applied in here. You must have imagination and faith to make that subjective impression, to make the influence over your subconscious, no matter what the world is telling you, no matter what the facts say. If you want to objectify your health, this is what you must do. Many of us, either from too little emotion or too much intellect typically, right? Both of which are stumbling blocks in the way of prayer, cannot believe that which our senses deny. To force ourselves to believe will end in greater doubt. To avoid such counter-suggestions, the patient should be unaware, objectively, of the suggestions which are made to him. The most effective method of healing or influencing the behavior of others consists in what is known as the silent or absent treatment. The most effective method of healing or influencing the behavior of others consists what is known as the silent or absent treatment. When the subject is unaware objectively of the suggestion given him, there is no possibility of him setting up an antagonistic belief. If your friend's telling you he wants a new opportunity and you're listening to that and you go, oh, okay, now I know how to aim my prayer. Now I know exactly what my prayer needs to have in it. If you share with him, I'm going to say a prayer for you, blah, 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 and you're going to let me know if this happens, then you're setting up within him also an opposition to what you're going to pray for him. Because he has the option to say, I don't believe that that's going to work. I don't see how that's going to work. I doubt this, my friend, has the power to do that. You're going to put opposition where there shouldn't be any. That's why the silent or absent treatment is necessary. Because you do the prayer within your closet, the door's closed. He that heareth also in secret is openly rewarded. When the subject is unaware objectively of the suggestion given him, there is no possibility of him setting up an antagonistic belief. It is not necessary that the patient know objectively that anything is being done for him. From what is known of the subjective and objective process of reasoning, it's better that he should not know objectively of that which is being done for him. I mean, it sounds obvious. It seems obvious. When you try it, you'll see how obvious it becomes. You'll see with the phone call telling you in your ear exactly what you prayed for of them without their consent. You'll hear it and it will confirm 1,000 times percent, 1,000,000%, 1,000 times whatever. It will be confirmation and you won't need more proof. You just won't. The more completely the objective mind is kept in ignorance of the suggestion, the better will be subjective mind perform its functions. The better will the subjective mind perform its functions. Repeating the sentence. The more completely the objective mind is kept in ignorance of the suggestion, the better will the subjective mind perform its functions. So we don't let my friend, his objective self, know anything of what we're doing. We do this subjectively. We impress our subconscious of hearing the good news of our friend telling us on the phone what happened. His subconscious picks it up. The objective mind has nothing, nowhere, need at all to be involved with this. The subject subconsciously accepts the suggestion and thinks he originates it. It's very fascinating because you'll see things and you'll see people do things, and to them, it's as if the idea is totally original. And you might want to refer to the movie Inception at this point, because it really is along those lines. Inception as a movie is a wonderful movie, and it really does cross this territory, and it is fascinating in the way it does it. But you'll see people think it's completely their idea, and you just have to smile. And you should just smile, because you don't have anything to prove. This is not about your ego. This is about seeing this exercise work and get this into your own practice. The subject subconsciously accepts the suggestion and thinks he originates it, proving the truth of Spinoza's dictum that we know not the causes that determine our actions. The mother darning the socks. The subconscious mind is the universal conductor which the operator modifies with his thoughts and feelings. Visible states are either the vibratory effects of subconscious vibrations within you, or they are vibratory causes of corresponding vibrations within you. Visible states are either the vibratory effects of subconscious vibrations within you, or they are the vibratory causes of corresponding vibrations within you. A disciplined man never permits them to be causes unless they awaken in him desirable states of consciousness. That's a disciplined man, which is what we all are striving to be with this knowledge. With the knowledge of the law of reversibility, the disciplined man transforms his world by imagining and feeling only what is lovely and of good rapport. Most wonderful sentence, and you've heard Neville say it 1,000 times if you've heard his lectures. With the knowledge of the law of reversibility, the disciplined man transforms his world by imagining and feeling only what is lovely and of good rapport. The beautiful idea he awakens within himself shall not fail to arouse its affinity in others. It's a vibratory concept right there, because if you're vibrating to a certain pitch, others around you will pick that up. It's like a resonance. There's a frequency picked up. He knows the Savior of the world is not a man, but the manifestation that would save. The sick man's Savior is health. The hungry man's Savior is food. The thirsty man's Savior is water. He walks in the company of the Savior by assuming the feeling of his wish fulfilled. Oh man, powerful sentences in this chapter. That one is it, man. I mean, those few sentences right there. He walks in the company of the Savior by assuming the feeling of his wish fulfilled. You're not just a victim of yourself, you're the savior of yourself. You feel and sense problems or challenges to be what you're a victim of, whatever that is, but in actuality, you're also the savior, because the desire within you is what would save you from the problem or limitation. And if it's the impression that you need to put into your subconscious, then you must do that. No one's going to do this for you. Until you practice this understanding, no one's going to step in and do it for you. Don't get me wrong, you might have a friend here or there, and you feel lucky that does this, but that's very rare. And nor is the line standing up at Neville's lectern or podium there available today for you to go to a lecture and wait and stand in line and get your imagination by him. But you can do that for yourself now that you know this. You don't need Neville. You don't need anybody else. You just need to understand what's happening here. He walks in the company of the Savior by assuming the feeling of his wish fulfilled means that your problem has a Savior, and it's you that provide that, and it's by him giving you desire that desire and urge is what you impress the subconscious with, which this is your savior, because the objectification of it is what solves the dilemma. You are the savior. By the laws of reversibility, that all transformation of force are reversible, the energy of feeling awakened transforms itself into the state imagined. He never waits 4 months for the harvest. If in 4 months the harvest will awaken in him a state of joy, then inversely, the joy of harvest now will awaken the harvest now. Now is the acceptable time to give beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. Let me repeat that quote. It is a quote. Now is the acceptable time to give beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, mourning, praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. What a wonderful chapter. Imagination and faith. I don't know what your favorite part was, but there's some goodies in here. Oh my gosh, there's so many good ones. I really can appreciate the using your own imagination, or someone else with an imagination is going to use your imagination. That's one very big point that I can totally appreciate. If you're not using your imagination, which means basically you're not making an impression on your subconscious, and this is basically an empty space, let's just say that that's an empty space, and someone else who is using their imagination, who has filled that space, because this is a negative and they filled that space with an idea, you're going to pick up that idea. And you're not going to do it consciously. You're going to assume it's true. You're even going to assume it's your idea, because you're not using your imagination. That is one of my favorite parts of this chapter, and it's one of my favorite parts of all the material. It means you need to be actively engaged in making the impression into your subconscious. You need to be actively engaged and claim that which is yours. No matter what's going on over there, this might try to come your way, but since you're actively engaged, then you've made that union. You've made this union. You've bonded your male and female self, your father and your mother within you. Your womb is now active with your imagination. It's your idea that takes shape. It's your idea that is conceived. And your idea goes through the Father and becomes an objective reality. But it's you that have the power. You leave this space vacant, and it's going to be open to anybody with a more positive use of their imagination. Positive meaning they're just using it. Now you can, I'm not saying that somebody else is choosing where you're going to eat lunch at on purpose, but that is even an example of it. If you let someone else choose where you're going to eat lunch, it's the same idea here. So you can practice this, and you don't have to argue about where you're going for lunch when you have a party of 2 people or 4 people. You can actually just focus on it before you know that that time of day is coming. Practice it. Say, I see where we're going to be going to Italian food. And then imagine yourself eating that Italian food. Imagine you and your partner being happily after eating that Italian food. Then when you get together in that twosome or foursome, and it ends up being Italian food, you know whose imagination prevailed. And you know whose other imaginations were vacant. And all you did was actively put into your imagination with your subconscious that feeling of at the end of the meal. That's all you did. Wow, what a wonderful chapter. Wow, that's a good one. Prayer, the Art of Believing, Chapter 3, Imagination and Faith. All right, we'll see you in the next video. Neville Goddard, Prayer, the Art of Believing, Chapter 4, Controlled Reverie. Everyone is amenable to the same psychological laws which govern the ordinary hypnotic subject. He is amenable to control by suggestion. In hypnosis, the objective senses are partly or totally suspended. However, no matter how profoundly the objective senses are locked in hypnosis, the subjective faculties are alert. And the subject recognizes everything that goes on around him. The activity and power of the subjective mind are proportionate to the sleep of the objective mind. Suggestions which appear powerless when presented directly to the objective consciousness are highly efficacious when the subject is in the hypnotic state. The hypnotic state is simply being unaware objectively. In hypnotism, the conscious mind is put to sleep and the subconscious powers are exposed so as to be directly reached by suggestion. Isn't it amazing when you see a hypnotist? I remember seeing one at the Orange County Fair years ago, and just what happened in front of me, what he made these people do and act like a chicken and just do all kinds of crazy things. It was fascinating. Always it blows my mind when I see them. And now you know that there's a conscious self and a subconscious self, as what we've been going over, and you can see how then that activity works. It's easy to see from this, providing you accept the truth of mental suggestions, that anyone not objectively aware of you is in a profound hypnotic state relative to you. Let me clean that sentence. It's easy to see from this, providing you accept the truth of mental suggestions, that anyone not objectively aware of you is in a profound hypnotic state relative to you. Therefore, curse not the king, no, not in thy thought, and curse not the rich in thy bedchamber, for a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. Ecclesiastes 10:20. Very, very true. Again, golden rule. Everything needs to be to the golden rule. If you would not have that done unto you, you would not do it unto another, is the same as saying, do not unto another as you would not want done unto you, nor think anything about another that you would not want another to think of you. And you can tell from this, it's your responsibility to raise the tide. The tide is at your command. You either raise it, or you are, as my teacher used to say, you're bringing us all down with you. If you're not bringing us up, you're bringing us down. If you're not using your imagination, someone else is. Let's repeat this sentence. Curse not the king, no, not in thy thought, and curse not the rich in thy bedchamber, for a bird of the air will carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. What you sincerely believe as true of another, you awaken within him. Remember the example of the teacher who heard of this law, and she went at that night. This student was about to be expelled, and she imagined lovingly for that student, and brought the matter to her mind that the student was better and didn't need to be expelled, and the temper had gone away, whatever temper that child had, and it was all good, and the child was in school and getting good grades. She just imagined that on her own. Just one person did that, and the child did not have to be expelled and was still in school at the writing of that book, which Neville had. I think it was a book or it was a lecture. But the point is, that which hath wings shall tell the matter is you, no matter if you're in the positive or the negative. This lady was using her imagining lovingly in the positive. Now, if she would have went home after the lecture of Neville and complained about that student, then she would only be feeding that enchantment. And that student would pick it up, and that student would go ahead and run down the tracks of what the other person believed of them, and therefore that potential would be wasted. All the potential of the student and the teacher would be gone. It'd be the feeding of that suggestion. What you sincerely believe as true of another, you awaken within him. That was a very big teaching in the Seth material also. Seth called it a psychic bridge that you would develop, a teacher would develop with a student, for instance, a troubled student. No one need to be entranced in the ordinary manner to be helped. As I just described about the teacher and the student, if the subject is consciously unaware of the suggestion, and if the suggestion is given with conviction and confidently by the operator as true, then you have the ideal setting for a successful prayer. That's all it takes. Just be convinced of its truth. That student is doing so much better. Represent the subject to yourself mentally as though he had already done that which you desire him to do. Mentally speak to him and congratulate him on having done what you want him to do. Mentally see him in the state you want him to obtain. Within the circle of its action, every word subjectively spoken awakens objectively what it affirms. Incredulity incredulity on the part of the subject is no hindrance when you are in control of your reverie. Oh man, incredulity on the part of the subject is no hindrance when you are in control of your reverie. You celebrate within you hearing that good news. Bold assertion by you while you are in a partly subjective state awakens what you affirm. Bold assertion by you. Bold assertion by you. Okay, here we go. Where are you? Where are you hiding? I am all that is God. So, one self-concept, another self-concept, of which there are many, and you take part in any of these you want to. This is healthy. This is wealthy. This is in love. This is married. This is free. This is where you were. This is where you were before that even. It doesn't matter. These are all self-concepts. There's no limitation. They all exist. All of his creations are done. Bold assertion by you while you are partly in a subjective state, while you are in a partly subjective state, awakens what you affirm. Partly subjective state awakens what you affirm. Remember, you have your masculine and your feminine. Your subjective is here, and your objective is here. Objective, subjective. When you're partly in the subjective state is when you go into your I am meditation. That's when you're taking your breaths, you're closing your mind off from the senses, and you're in your I am meditation. Your I am. I am. Partly subjective you are now. Your partly subjective means that subconscious is now literally listening, and you're right there at its threshold. Bold assertion by you while you are in a partly subjective state awakens what you affirm. Self-confidence on your part and the thorough belief in the truth of your mental assertion are all that is needed to produce results. Visualize the subject and imagine that you hear his voice. This establishes contact within his subjective mind. Then imagine that he is telling you what you want to hear. If you want to send him words of health and wealth, then imagine he is telling you, I've never felt better and I've never had more. I've never felt better and I've never had more. Imagine on the phone, I've never felt better, I've never had more. Health and wealth. And mentally tell him of your joy in witnessing his good fortune. Imagine that you see and hear his joy. A mental conversation with the subjective image of another must be in a manner which does not express the slightest doubt as to the truth of what you hear and say. No doubt. You just are fully solid in that communication to you. Oh, I never felt better. I've never had more. A mental conversation with a subjective image of another must be in a manner in which does not express the slightest doubt as to the truth of what you hear and say. Remember, you've heard that person's voice before. You might be doing this for your brother or your sister or your mother or your father or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your friend. You've heard their voice before. You know how to hear it on the phone. You know how to hear it mentally if you've heard it physically. You can see a person, which I've done quite often. I mentioned it in a previous video. You can imagine what a voice sounds like just by seeing a person. You can imagine what, by seeing a person, it is for them to smile. You can just see it because you've seen their face once. So you can hear the voice. You have the capacity to hear the voice tell you what an amazing new turn of events has happened. And they have the new event. And you're congratulating them in your imagination. If you have the least idea that you do not believe what you have imagined, you have heard and seen, the subject will not comply, for your subjective mind will transmit only your fixed ideas. And that would be doubt, which you don't want in here. Only fixed ideas can awaken their vibratory correlates in those toward whom they are directed. In the controlled reverie, ideas must be suggested with the utmost care. He's given a warning here. The golden rule is very, very important. And if you want to play without that, that's going to be up to you, because what rubber and glue, right? I'm rubber, you're glue. So whatever you send out, if they don't accept it, it's coming back. And there are people that want to play with that idea, how they can cause or imagine a negative for another, and they play in that realm. They get what they give. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. It's not something I want to do. I hope for you, you don't want to do that, but that is out there. And what he's saying here, again, if you're not using your imagination, someone else is. So as a little bit of a disclaimer on everything I just said right there. In the controlled reverie, ideas must be suggested with the utmost care. If you do not control your imagination in the reverie, your imagination will control you. Whatever you suggest with confidence is law to the subjective mind. It is under obligation to objectify that which you mentally affirm. Not only does the subject execute the state affirmed, but he does it as though the decision had come of itself, or the idea had been originated by him. Back to the movie Inception. The movie Inception really does portray this well. The guy who made the movie, and I forget his name, he starts the movie with the way he ends the movie. It's as if you could play the movie in a loop, the beginning and end. He does this with his movies too. I think he also did the movie Tenet, which is another good movie. Not only does the subject execute the state affirmed, but he does it as though the decision had come of itself, or the idea had been originated by him. Control of the subconscious, control of the subconscious is dominion over all. Each state obeys one mind's control. Control of the subconscious is accomplished through control of your beliefs, which in turn is the all-potent factor in the production of visible states. Imagination and faith are the secrets of creation. Oh, boy. Neville laying it down. Oh, my gosh. 2 pages. He has said a lot right here, especially in this last very, very small paragraph. Control of the subconscious, which is automatically my favorite, and it's very, very powerful. Control of the subconscious is dominion over all. Control of the subconscious. Control of your subconscious, which you're giving impressions already all the time anyway. If you believe the world is full of limitations, so be it. It is taking your command as law. If you believe the world is full of abundance, so be it. It is taking your command as law. If you believe all men are loving, caring, nurturing, so then your subconscious puts you in contact with those that are loving, caring, nurturing. If you believe that being in love is the ultimate joy in life, then your subconscious takes that as a command and puts you in contact with those that bring and deliver loving, caring, nurturing experiences to give you the joy of life. If you believe anything, your subconscious is taking it as a command. It is law to the subconscious. It's not an option to the subconscious. It doesn't go, I don't know if you deserve that right now. I don't know if you're aware that you are not thinking properly, and I need to discriminate for you. Nuh-uh. The subconscious takes it and runs. It takes your command and runs, and then it's objectified. So whatever you are putting into your subconscious state, it will be. As a matter of fact, up to today, up to this very moment, you have been doing this excellently. You've been doing this every single day already. Literally. Remember the other piece. Your objective reality, this morning when you woke up, was what you believed last night when you went to sleep. So today you're living in the shadow of your past. This is your past. What you believed last night, because you did go to sleep, and it went into your subconscious. Every single thing you believed about your reality was directed into your subconscious. Every single thing. And then you woke up this morning with all of that together, making the reality you call your day. From the instant that let there be light happened in your mind, everything was real today because of what you believed last night. So this past shadow that you're walking around in is where is where your expressions are. They have a beginning. That beginning is in meditation. It's right when you wake up in sats, and it's right before you fall asleep in sats. You can do this in the middle of your day too. Meditation, just I am, breathing, quiet, close the senses. But just remember, the impact that you have is an everyday thing, pretty much an every moment thing too, but control of the subconscious is dominion over all. Each state obeys one mind's control. Control of the subconscious is accomplished through control of your beliefs, which in turn is the all-potent factor in the production of visible states. Imagination and faith are the secrets of creation. Man, imagination and faith are the secrets of creation. Doesn't it sound so simple? Apply it. I imagine that you have applied it and you are happy too. Chapter 4, all right. Controlled reverie. We'll see you, prayer, the art of believing, of course. We'll see you in the next chapter. Neville Goddard, prayer, the art of believing, chapter 5, law of thought transmission. We're going to pick up some speed now. He sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their destructions. He transmitted the consciousness of health. He transmitted the consciousness of health, and it awoke its vibratory correlate in the one toward whom it was directed. He mentally represented the subject to himself in a state of health, and imagined he heard the subject confirm it. For no word of God shall be void of power, therefore hold fast the pattern of healthful words which thou hast heard. To pray successfully, you must have clearly defined objectives. You must know what you want before you can ask for it. Remember the I am meditation. What is it I would enjoy? You must know what you want before you can feel that you have it. And prayer is the feeling of fulfilled desire. It does not matter what it is you seek in prayer, or where it is, or whom it concerns. You have nothing to do but convince yourself of the truth of that which you desire to see manifested. When you emerge from prayer, you no longer seek. When you emerge from prayer, you no longer seek, for you have, if you have prayed correctly, subconsciously assumed the reality of the state sought. And by the law of reversibility, your subconscious assumption must objectify that which it affirms. It is automatic. You go into the Sabbath. You must have a conductor to transmit a force. You may employ a wire, a jet of water, a current of air, a ray of light, or any intermediary whatsoever. The principle of the photophone, or the transmission of voice by light, will help you to understand thought transmission, or the sending of a word to heal another. There is a strong analogy between a spoken voice and a mental voice. To think is to speak low. To speak is to think aloud. The principle of the photophone is this: a ray of light is reflected by a mirror and projected to a receiver at a distant point. Back of the mirror is a mouthpiece. By speaking into the mouthpiece, you cause the mirror to vibrate. A vibrating mirror modifies the light reflected on it. The modified light has your speech to carry, not as speech, but as represented in its mechanical correlate. It reaches the distant station and impinges on a disc within the receiver. It causes the disc to vibrate according to the modification it undergoes, and it reproduces your voice. I am the light of the world. I am the knowledge that I exist is a light by means of which that I am the knowledge that I exist is a light by means of which what passes in my mind is rendered visible. Memory, or my ability to mentally see what is not objectively present, proves that my mind is a mirror, and so sensitive a mirror that it can reflect a thought. The reperception of an image in memory in no way differs as a visual act from the perception of my image in a mirror. The same principle of seeing is involved in both. Fascinating. Your consciousness is the light reflected on the mirror of your mind and projected in space to the one of whom you think, your consciousness. By mentally speaking to the subjective image in your mind, you cause the mirror of your mind to vibrate. Your vibrating mind modifies the light of consciousness reflected on it. The modified light of consciousness reaches the one toward whom it is directed and impinges on the mirror of his mind. It causes his mind to vibrate according to the modifications it undergoes. Thus, it produces in him what was mentally affirmed by you. All right, here we are again and again. All right, I am all that is God right here. All of our different self-concepts, here's one, here's another. There's many. They're infinite quantities. When you're sending, remember you have your conscious and your subconscious. We're going to use this positive symbol as our conscious and our subconscious as by the negative symbol. When you're imagining lovingly for your friend to get better, you've convinced yourself, you've actually sacrificed the self you are to become the self that believes he is better by making this impression into your subconscious. You objectify the new self that believes he is better, your friend. Your friend is also tied into the same subconscious network that you are. Once you persuade this self and objectify yourself into a new being that has the reality of this friend who's better, you make that conviction, you persuade yourself, you impress your subconscious, all the same thing. It goes into consciousness. That consciousness is also feeding your friend. Your friend picks that up and rolls with it. He then becomes that new self. The death of his old unwell self becomes his new healthy self. Your past self that believed he wasn't well becomes the new self you are, which believes he is well. So here you guys, by thought transmission, are in new realities. He's using the mirror principle, but it's the same concept. We can consider this vibration to bounce off of that mirror right there, which is I am, all that is, God, divinity, Buddha, Jesus, Christ, etc., etc. That's the mirror. Your consciousness is the light reflected on the mirror of your mind and projected in space to the one of whom you think. By mentally speaking to the subjective image in your mind, you cause the mirror of your mind to vibrate. Your vibrating mind modifies the light of consciousness reflected on it. The modified light of consciousness reaches the one toward whom it is directed and impinges on the mirror of his mind. It causes his mind to vibrate according to the modifications it undergoes. Thus, it reproduces in him what was mentally affirmed by you. Same concept. Boom, reflection, boom. Picks up the energy, sacrifices this self, and becomes this self. This self becomes this self. But that reflection happens in consciousness. And now, if your friend doesn't want to be well or is refusing to believe that it's possible that he could be well, or he even believes it's impossible of others to be well, he could reject this. We're just going to go ahead and throw that in there, because if he does reject it and wants to be sick for other fulfillment reasons, then that energy is going to come back to you and you're going to catch the repercussions. You're still going to objectify here, but you're going to catch the repercussions of what you sent, which was positive, which was a loving, imagining lovingly for his to get better. That health, unaccepted, will come back to you. You will be this new objectification with what you sent. So the operant power, every operator has the option to accept or reject. Your beliefs, your fixed attitudes of mind, constantly modify your consciousness as it is reflected on the mirror of your mind. Your consciousness, modified by your beliefs, objectifies itself in the conditions of your world. To change the world, you must first change your conception of it. Very, very powerful sentence. To change the world, you must change your conception of it. To change a man, you must change your conception of him. You must believe him to be you must believe him to be the man you want him to be and mentally talk to him as though he were. All men are sufficiently sensitive to reproduce your beliefs of them. Oh man, that little group of sentences was mighty powerful. Therefore, if your word is not reproduced visibly in him toward whom it is sent, the cause is to be found in you, not in the subject, as I just described. As soon as you believe in the truth of the state affirmed, results follow. Now listen to that piece right there. It's a very important, pivotal piece. As soon as you believe in the truth of the state affirmed, results follow. Back to the thoughts, beliefs, emotions that Seth used to talk about in his material. You create your own reality by your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. Beliefs have a lot to do with this. As soon as you believe in the truth of the state affirmed, results follow. Everyone can be transformed. Every thought can be transmitted. Every thought can be visibly embodied. Back to the beginning. Very, very important paragraph. We need to repeat it so that way you have it 4 times if you rewind to the original beginning. My teacher used to correct me, and then I would be so dumbfounded by some of the concepts she would deliver to my mind, and I'd be like, "Wait a minute, what? What did you say?" And then she would repeat, and then she goes, "I've just told you, and it's on the tape, and then I just told you again, and then it's on the tape again. Now it's there 4 times." I'm just like going, "Okay." She was so ahead of me. I just wanted to catch up. That's why I would ask so many questions. But here we go. Your beliefs, your fixed attitudes of mind, worth repeating, like a chorus, constantly modify your consciousness as it is reflected on the mirror of your mind. Your beliefs, your fixed attitudes of mind, constantly modify your consciousness as it is reflected on the mirror of your mind. There's the mirror of your mind. Your beliefs are constantly reflected. Okay? Your consciousness, modified by your beliefs, objectifies itself in the conditions of your world. When you change your beliefs, you impress your subconscious, and that changes your objectification. So your self-concept's constantly changing. There's an infinite amount of self-concepts. All his creations are done. To change the world, you must first change your conception of it. Super powerful sentence. Anything you're trying to change here, if you're trying to change a friend for healthy better, or a friend who is wants to be employed and is not employed, or another friend who is not in a relationship who wants to be in a relationship, or another friend who's in poverty who wants to be in wealth, if you're trying to do that, you have to change your conception of them, as we just described. But this is also what you're doing to change the world. You're changing your conception of it. You're not seeing someone who's down and out as a victim of their own thinking. You're not seeing someone who is is trying to meet their challenges as someone who created their challenges and woe is them. No. You're seeing the solution embedded in your mind and in your consciousness of them in a better state. You're raising the tide. You're changing the world because you're changing your conception of it. To change the world, you must first change your conception of it. It happens at this micro, macro level. If you don't change what's right around you, you can't hope to change the rest of it. But you do have to change your conception of it. And on your way there, obviously what's around you is first. To me, that seems obvious. Your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers, your friends, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, all of the above are right before you. They're right in your environment for a reason. To change a man, you must change your conception of him. You must believe him to be the man you want him to be and mentally talk to him as though he were. Congratulations on that new opportunity you received. I am so happy for you. I know you start Monday. That's wonderful news. I am so happy for you. But by the way, 2 videos ago, I sent a mental signal to a friend to text me, and I sent the other one congratulating him on his new job opportunity. Well, the evening, which was yesterday for me, the first video that I sent it was 2 videos ago. I sent that first message I sent was a friend to text me. He did text, and it was approximately 8 o'clock last night. I'd have to look it up, but I did get a text from him. Just want to give that FYI. So sending that signal, it works. It also happens to be a friend I know that is receptive, and I just chose him right off the bat when we were discussing that, but a text did come through. I'll show it at the end of this video. You must believe him to be the man. To change a man, you must change your conception of him. You must believe to be the man you want him to be and mentally talk to him as though he were. All men are sufficiently sensitive to reproduce your beliefs of them. This is super powerful. All men are sufficiently sensitive to reproduce your beliefs of them. Therefore, if your world is not reproduced visibly in him toward whom it is sent, the cause is to be found in you, not in the subject. That's again bouncing back to you if they don't receive it and don't want to take part in that. If it's not if your word is not reproduced visibly in him toward whom it is sent, the cause is to be found in you, not in the subject. Very, very, very profound stuff right here. As soon as you believe in the truth of the state affirmed, results follow. Once you believe it, you go into the Sabbath, results will follow. Period. Everyone can be transformed. Every thought can be transmitted. Every thought can be visibly embodied. Every thought can be transformed. Every thought can be transmitted. Every thought can be visibly embodied. Every thought. Not just the thoughts of the people who meditate for 6 hours a day and lay and sit in the position with their legs crossed and look like a yoga. Not just their thoughts. Not just the initiate's thoughts, not just the preacher's thoughts, every thought. That's the thought that you have, the thought that I have. Every thought is taking place in the same sphere of activity. And they're all tied to the same consciousness. All thoughts are tied into the same consciousness. So every thought is in touch with the network all throughout. Subjective words, subconscious assumptions awaken what they affirm. Okay, subjective words are words that we use. Our subjective self is our self when it's sleeping. So when we impress our subconscious or our consciousness, either way you want to look at this, the subjective words are here. Subconscious assumptions. They are assumptions that follow into objectification. Subjective words, subconscious assumptions awaken what they affirm. They are living and active and shall not return unto me void, but shall accomplish that which I please and shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent them. They are endowed with the intelligence pertaining to their mission and will persist until the object of their existence is realized. They persist until they awaken the vibratory correlates of themselves within the one toward whom they are directed. But the moment the object of their creation is accomplished, they cease to be. Very potent sentence. Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. They are the living and active and shall not return unto me void. They are living and active, but shall accomplish that which I please and shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent them. They are endowed with the intelligence pertaining to their mission and will persist until the object of their existence is realized. They persist until they awaken the vibratory correlates of themselves within the one toward whom they are directed. But the moment the object of their creation is accomplished, they cease to be. Isn't that wonderful? If they manifest the health, why do we need it anymore? We don't. We don't make the same wish over and over. When we send it and we go into the Sabbath and we know our subconscious is impressed and we know it's going to happen, we become this self. We know that's coming. There's a pregnancy afoot. That pregnancy will give birth to the son of that positive sending, of that health we sent. We know it's going to happen. The sending of it ceases to be. The signal's over. The word spoken subjectively in quiet confidence will always awaken a corresponding state in the one for whom it was spoken. But the moment its task is accomplished, it ceases to be, permitting the one in whom the state is realized to remain in the consciousness of the state affirmed or to return to his former state. Ooh. We sent the prayer of health, and this one manifests objectively a healthy state, but still has the option to look back like Lot's wife. This one still has the option, do I want to stay sick or do I want to be healthy? I have it right now. The opportunity is now because I feel good today. Or do I want to go back? The word spoken subjectively in quiet confidence will always awaken a corresponding state in one form it was spoken, for whom it was spoken, but the moment its task is accomplished, it ceases to be. That ceasing to be kind of unplugs that power, permitting the one in whom the state is realized to remain in the consciousness of the state affirmed, which is what we sent, or return to his former state. Whatever state has your attention holds your life. Whatever state has your attention holds your life. If this person believes in health and believes inside, I am healthy, I will get better, he will take that message you sent and run with it and stay put with it. If he believes and has those same thought structures that you have, that it's okay to be healthy and he will be healthy, boom, he'll run with it. The objectification of his health will come. But whatever state has your attention has your life. If his beliefs are the opposite, he'll stay put. He might go get a taste of healthy, but he'll go back. Therefore, to become attentive to a former state is to return to that condition. Remember not the former things, neither consider the things of old. Remember not the former things, neither consider the things of old. Nothing can be added to man, for the whole of creation is already perfected within him. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Man can receive nothing except it be given him from heaven. Heaven's right here. Heaven is your subconscious. Heaven is your subconsciousness. Not even a sunburn is given from without. The rays without the rays outside of you, the rays without only awaken corresponding rays within. Were the burning rays not contained within man, all the concentrated rays in the universe could not burn him. Were the tones of health not contained within the consciousness of the one whom they are affirmed, they could not be vibrated by the word which is sent. I believe he is healthy. I impress my consciousness, my subconscious self. It goes in, is reflected, and it arrives here. Were the tones of health not contained within the consciousness of the ones to whom they are affirmed, they could not be vibrated by the word which is sent. You do not really give to another. You resurrect that which is asleep within him. The damsel is not dead, but sleepeth. Death is merely a sleeping and a forgetting. Age and decay are the sleep, not death, of youth and health. Recognition of a state vibrates or awakens it. Distance, as it is cognized by your subjective senses, does not exist for the subjective mind. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me. Time and space are conditions of thought. The imagination can transcend them and move in a psychological time and space. Although physically separated from a place by thousands of miles, you can mentally live in the distant place as though it were here. Your imagination can easily transform winter into summer, New York into Florida, and so on. Whether the object of your desire be near or far, results will be the same. Subjectively, the object of your desire is never far off. Its intense nearness makes it remote from observation of the senses. It dwells in consciousness, and consciousness is closer than breathing and nearer than hands and feet. Closer than breathing and nearer than hands and feet. Again, when you think it's out here, the solution, it's not. You're looking in the wrong place. It's always within. Consciousness has it all. So whether separated by miles, if you think that the distance is the problem, then you're looking at the world for the answer. But it's closer than hands and feet. It's closer than your breath. Consciousness is the one and only reality. All phenomena are formed of the same substance vibrating at different rates. All is consciousness modified by belief. Out of consciousness I as man came, and to consciousness I as man return. In consciousness, all states exist subjectively and are awakened to their objective existence by belief. In consciousness, all states exist subjectively and are awakened to their objective existence by belief. Once you believe, if my friend takes and accepts the belief that he's healthy, then it's objectified. But it's a subjective pickup. It's a subjective pickup. In consciousness, all states exist subjectively and are awakened to their objective existence by belief. The only thing that prevents us from making a successful subjective impression on one at a great distance or transforming there into here is our habit of regarding space as an obstacle. Space as an obstacle is when you keep looking here thinking that miles matter, or the plane ride, or whatever it is, or the ocean separating countries. What you send is received. Your friend could be in Europe and telling you on the phone that they have a cold or whatever it is, and you send that healing energy. You're doing it within both of you. Both of you exist here. I am all that is God. You are from Him. You're created by Him. Consciousness is the only thing there is. So when you make that healing prayer to your subconscious self, you're tied directly into. So space doesn't matter where space is. That makes no difference. Consciousness is the only thing that exists. A friend 1,000 miles away is rooted in your consciousness through your fixed ideas of him. To think of him and represent him to yourself inwardly in the state you desire him to be, confident that this subjective image is as true as thought as though it were already objectified, awakens in him a corresponding state which he must objectify. The results will be as obvious as the cause was hidden. The subject will express the awakened state within him and remain unaware of the true cause of his action. This is where you have to just smile. This is where you hear from him the next day and go, I feel so much better. I've never felt better. I've never had more. Once you hear that, you know your signal was picked up by your subconscious, and by his subconscious, he objectified the new healthy attitude. You objectified the new believing in him healthy, so now you and him exist. Everything's in harmony. When we use the golden rule, like we just used as an example, the subject will express the awakened state within him and remain unaware of the true cause of his action. Your illusion of free will is but ignorance of the causes which makes you act. Your illusion of free will is but ignorance of the causes which make you act. Remember, if you're not using your imagination, someone else is. Prayers depend upon your attitude of mind for their success and not upon the attitude of the subject. If you're not using your imagination, someone else is. If you're willing to use your imagination and see your friend as better, healthy, you're willing to use and have an attitude of mind that has conviction. Now, having that conviction and intensely impressing your consciousness or your subconscious magnifies consciousness. That consciousness is magnified. Repeating the sentence, prayers depend upon your attitude of mind for their success, not upon the attitude of the subject. If your subject is sick and he's not in the mindset of practicing using his imagination while being sick, because there's plenty more to attend to, then his open imagination is happily going to receive that which you send, because it's an empty vessel at this point. He's not using his imagination. You are for him using his imagination. He's contending with the sniffles and the sickness and the feeling and the being bedridden and whatever else goes with whatever sickness he might have. You can take it for granted that his imagination gap is open at this point. And you being convinced of his health is stronger than his not even using his imagination. He's contending with all of the effects. The subject has no power to resist your controlled subjective ideas of him unless the state affirmed by you to be true of him is a state he is incapable of wishing as true of another. If he is incapable of wishing someone else to be healthy, he will not accept what you send. But in this case, looking at the world around him, I would think he sees all these healthy people going to work and going about their day, that he could easily believe it's true of another, that people are healthy. But if he's of the mindset that he could not even imagine others to be healthy, then he won't imagine it of himself. Then even though his imagination is empty, if he couldn't believe others could be healthy, he won't accept it himself. The subject has no power to resist your controlled subjective ideas of him unless the state affirmed by you to be true of him is a state he is incapable of wishing as true of another. And in that case, it returns to you, the sender, and will realize itself in you. Provided the idea is acceptable, success depends entirely on the operator, not upon the subjects who, like compass needles on their pivots, are quite indifferent as to what direction you choose to give them. If your fixed idea is not subjectively accepted by the one toward whom it is directed, it rebounds to you from whom it came. It's very powerful understanding here. Who is he that will harm you if ye be followers of that which is good? I have been young, and now I am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. There shall no evil happen to the just. Nothing befalls us that is not of the nature of ourselves. Oh man, that is so true. A person who directs a malicious thought to another will be injured by its rebound if he fails to get if he fails to get subconscious acceptance of the other. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. Furthermore, what you can wish and believe of another can be wished and believed of you, and you have no power to reject it if the one who desires it for you accepts it as true of you. Heavy sentence. We're going to repeat that. Oh my goodness. Furthermore, what you can wish and believe of another can be wished and believed of you. And you have no power to reject it if the one who desires it for you accepts it as true of you. Uh-oh. You have no power to reject it if the one who desires it for you accepts it as true of you. He is already sick, and you're sending health, and you've impacted your subconscious, your subjective self. He's already sick. He has no power to reject it if the one who desires it accepts it as. If I believe and I am if I have a conviction of his health and I believe it, he has no power to reject it. But remember the whole sentence. Furthermore, what you can wish and believe of another. Now let's go back to me. This is me in the example. What you can wish and believe of another can be wished and believed of you. Someone else over here can believe that of me. And I have no power to reject it if the one who desires it for me accepts it as true of me. The only power to reject a subjective word is to be incapable of wishing a similar state to another. Of another. To give presupposes the ability to receive. You can see the playing field we're working in right here. The only power to reject a subjective word is to be incapable of wishing a similar state of another. To give presupposes the ability to receive. This is why the golden rule is so important. If you go around seeding and impressing your subjective self with negatives of other people, you think this person should do this in their life. You think that person isn't right. You think this person is operating their world upside down and they should all change, you're shooting on these three people, then whatever they believe of you, you can't resist because you are in that playing field where everything's equal. If you believe a negative over here, and I don't even want to give voice to these things because it doesn't matter. We don't want to go there anymore. Now that we're aware of this, we want to stop that activity right now in its tracks. Because when you have a negative and you impress your subconscious about this person and their subconscious picks that up, guess what they can do to you? They can and probably most likely are doing the same thing, saying the same thing about you verbatim. Because you believe that negative, then you are open to it from any source. It doesn't even matter where that source is. The golden rule is the most important rule there is. No matter what it is you're doing, if you're not living by the golden rule, you're caught in the massive soup. You're caught by the illusions. And those illusions have you convinced of a lot of funky things. The golden rule is the only rule. And Neville would say it over and over again. If somebody had wanted him to imagine for them, it would have to fall in line with the golden rule. And if it didn't, he would not partake of what they wanted. People even asked him, can you get rid of somebody for me? And he would not do anything like that. So you must remember for yourself, learning this, that the golden rules is as important as you could ever imagine, because you are going to be the object of someone else's subjective impression. Do you want that to be negative or do you want that to be positive? If you want it to be positive and you want to objectify positive things, then you want to let go of all negative subjective impressions you have of anybody and everybody. Remember, you're pointing a finger at somebody, one's pointing at them and three is pointing right back at you. Three are pointing right back at you. There's people that say this differently, and this says the thumb's pointing towards God, but so there's the idea. I don't know if there's anything more important as you learn to consciously control this skill set than what we are talking about right now, the golden rule. And Neville made it a very big point. You're dabbling with what could make you deeper in trouble or what could give you more freedom to have in your new objective realities what you want and desire for yourself. You want freedom, you want wealth, you want health, you want love. Then you play with the golden rule and you keep that your only rule. As you keep that your only rule, the success of these situations, you send out consistently. You send out only gold. And guess what you only receive? The only thing you can receive is gold. When you send out gold only, when you only believe into your subconscious belief system, into your subconscious acceptance of an idea, and it's only golden about somebody, I don't care if your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend is saying something negative about somebody else, you revise on the spot. You have control of this because you need to do an instant revision. We're going to get into this later. But you need to revise in live time, in real time, on the spot. If your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend is saying something very negative about another person, you cannot afford that. For both of you, someone has to get out of that trench. So you revise and you make an impression. If your spouse is saying something negative about another person, you revise that in real time to your own subconscious. And you see that positive affirmation for that other person. Because you need to send out a counter. Okay, that's a different level of work here, but we want to come back to our individual self. We want to realize that we are doing this in concert at the same time. So revision, we're going to get into later, and it's going to be one of the most amazing things to cover. Golden rule, stick to it, send the gold only, receive the gold only. Sounds nice and simple. You will change habits over this one thing. I think it's probably the only rule in all of this material. There's a lot of you must do things, but the golden rule is, I think, if you make a conscious choice to work with the golden rule, I think you will see the very, very positive use of this skill set. You're already using the skill set anyway. You can see what the skill set has delivered at this point. So if you just tweak one thing, tweak the golden rule thing, because you're already doing this. Again, we're only bringing up to your conscious awareness of doing it. Okay, we're going to push forward. The possibility to impress an idea upon another mind presupposes the ability of that mind to receive that impression. Fools exploit the world, the wise transfigure it. This is what we're talking about right now. Fools exploit the world, the wise transfigure it. We send gold, we get gold. Fools will try and work out here and play that blame game, back and forth, this victim mentality. What a great sentence. Fools exploit the world, the wise transfigure it. It is the highest wisdom to know that in the living universe there is no destiny other than that created out of the imagination of man. Man, I don't know what's going on. Each sentence knocks down the most amazing previous sentence because they're so powerful, man. That one is so big. It is the highest wisdom to know that in the living universe there is no destiny. There's no destiny other than that created out of the imagination of man. There is no influence outside of the mind of man. Your mind of man is you and your self-conscious is your mind of man. There's no influence outside of you. You're tied into him, all that is. He's giving you desires, but he's not influencing you. You have the opportunity to use the golden rule or not. So that would mean he's not, no respecter of persons means you are not being judged by consciousness. So outside of the mind of man, there is no influence. We're using the mind of man to influence another's, let's say, health, but it's up to him that believes that's possible. So when I send that gold for his health and he objectifies it into a healthy state, that's using it positively. Whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good rapport, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. Never accept as true of others what you would not want to be true of you. Oh my gosh. How much news reports do you have to ignore for that? to follow that sentence? Never accept as true of others what you would not accept, or excuse me, what you would not want to be true of you. To awaken a state within another, it first must be awake within you. Oh man, again, each sentence knocks down the previous one as being the best. To awaken a state within another, it must be awake within you. If I'm sending my self-conviction of health to my friend who's not healthy, or if I'm sending that self-conviction to my friend who is not in a relationship but wants to be in a relationship, and I convince myself that she is now married and is happily in love, it must be awake within me to be able to muster the conviction. That must be awake in me. I believe I live in a safe universe. I am wealthy. I am healthy. I am in love. I am happily married. I am that I am. You can see where you must practice. You must. Remember, I figured out where this quote came from. It was from a preacher in a movie. The movie's called Cowboys and Aliens. There's some wonderful wisdom imparted in that movie that you wouldn't even believe it's there, but it is. And that every line that preacher states in that movie, his name is I forget his name, is the actor whom it is. Anyway, there's a scene, and I'm probably going to spoil a little bit, but he's coming to the end of his role in the movie, and it's obvious, and he says to the lead character, "You need to go get our people." And then he says, "Remember, God doesn't care where you were, he only cares where you are." And every line spoken by that preacher in that movie, Cowboys and Aliens, wonderful. Who wrote that? Snuck in some good stuff. There's very good wisdom in that movie. God doesn't care where you were. He only cares where you are. God, I am all that is, doesn't care where you were. If this is your current place of self-concept and you want to be here, God doesn't care where you were. He only cares where you are. All time is now, by the way. You gotta weave that together with this. All time is now. All of his creations are done. He doesn't care where you were means we're alluding to the past. But the actual nowness of it is he only cares where you are. Where you were is like looking back like Lot's wife. He doesn't care where you were. He only cares where you are. If you take your conviction and your self-persuasion to your consciousness, that's where he is. He only cares where you are. What a wonderful line in the movie. I highly recommend it because everything that guy says, there's a lot of other symbolism in that movie too for the ridiculous, for a seemingly ridiculous type of movie. It's got some wonderful bits in it, especially in the dialogue. So you just got to pay attention. Never accept as true of others what you would not want to be true of you. To awaken a state within another it first must be awake within you. The state you would transmit to another can be transmitted only, only if it is believed by you. Therefore, to give is to receive. You cannot give what you do not have, and you have only what you believe. I live in a safe universe. I live in a safe universe. Not the universe is safe, not I hope that things get better or that activity changes. No, I live, I am. You could even use I am here. I am alive in a safe universe. I like the way I learned it was I live in a safe universe, and it was very profound. I learned that from the Seth material, as I mentioned previously, and it is very much a conviction you need to have within you. I live in a safe universe. No matter what's going on around you, no matter what others say around you. And that's the kind of conviction and belief you instill in yourself. So if you believe another person is safe, it's because you believe at home, I believe I live in a safe universe. To give is to receive. You cannot give what you do not have, and you have only what you believe. So to believe a state as true of another not only awakens that state within the other, but it makes it alive within you. You are what you believe. Give and ye shall receive, full measure, pressed down and running over. There it is. Giving is simply believing. For what you truly believe of others, you awaken within them. The vibratory state transmitted by your belief persists until it awakens its corresponding vibration in him whom it is believed. But before it can be transmitted, it must first be awake within the consciousness of the transmitter. Just because you believe someone else is healthy, and maybe you're in a state where you have a cold or you're sick, doesn't mean you don't believe that they can be healthy. Just because you're experiencing the same thing, let's say you're both sick, it doesn't mean you cannot believe that you can be healthy or that he can be healthy, because that belief does exist within you. It doesn't mean you have to be on a clean slate standing perfectly as if you never experienced reality or life. That's not the point. You don't have to be healthy to be able to make someone else healthy. You could be sick and have the same cold within yourself, but you have the conviction and belief that it's possible he can be healthy and you can be healthy. Whatever is awake within your consciousness, you are. Whether the belief pertains to self or another does not matter, for the believer is defined by the sum total of his beliefs or subconscious assumptions. As a man thinketh in his heart, in the deep subconscious of himself, so is he. Disregard appearances and subjectively affirm as true that which you wish to be true. This awakens in you the tone of the state affirmed, which in turn realizes itself in you and in the one of whom it is affirmed. Give and ye shall receive. Beliefs invariably awaken what they affirm. The world is a mirror wherein everyone sees himself reflected. The objective world reflects the beliefs in the subjective mind. My goodness. Some people are self-impressed best by visual images, others by mental sounds, and still others by mental actions. The form of mental activity which allows the whole power of your attention to be focused in one chosen direction is the one to cultivate, until you can bring all to play on your objective at the same time. Very, very interesting, important piece here. What you're going to do when you imagine lovingly, you're going to be using visual images, mental sounds, mental actions. The form of mental activity which allows the whole power of your attention to be focused in one chosen direction is one to cultivate until you can bring all to play on your objective at the same time. Should you have some difficult, like for me, for instance, I can easily, when I see somebody and I see their face and I can see that face smile, I can mentally see the smile. Then I literally can mentally hear the voice. Literally. So visually I have the image, I can mentally hear the sounds, and then the mental actions at the same time because I'll hug or I'll high five when I'm congratulating that person. Whichever one you start with, just go. Just have one. If you have one or not all three, get one cultivated. If you hear the person on the phone in your mind, that's all you can do without seeing them, at least start there. If you see them and don't hear them, that's okay. Go with that. Or if you can imagine high-fiving them or hugging them and not hearing them or seeing them, that's okay. Go there. Cultivate. Practice. Do this over and over. Then before you know it, you're going to have the other two. Then you'll see them. You'll hear it. You'll see the smile. You'll see the mouth move. You'll hear. You'll hug. You'll high five. You'll do all three at the same time. Should you have some difficulty in understanding the terms, visual images, mental sounds, and mental actions, here is an illustration that should make their meanings clear. A imagines he sees a piece of music, knowing nothing at all about musical notations. The impression in his mind is purely visual image. B imagines he sees the same piece, but he can read music and can imagine how it would sound when played on the piano. That imagination is mental sound. One sees an image, one hears the sound. C also reads music and is a pianist. As he reads, he imagines himself playing the piece. The imaginary action is mental action. The visual images, mental sounds, and mental actions are creations of your imagination. And though they appear to come from without, they actually come from within yourself. They move as if moved by another, but are really launched by your own spirit from the magical storehouse of imagination. They are projected into space by the same vibratory law that governs the sending of a voice or picture. Speech and images are projected not as speech or images, but as vibratory correlates. Subjective mind vibrates according to the modifications it undergoes by the thought and feelings of the operator. The visible state created is the effect of the subjective vibrations. A feeling is always accompanied by a corresponding vibration, that is, a change in expression or sensation in the operator. Very powerful stuff. I especially, this last sentence, a feeling is always accompanied by a corresponding vibration. That is a change in expression or sensation in the operator. There is no thought or feeling without expression. There is no thought or feeling in your self-concept without, this is where you impress. There's no thought or feeling without expression. There is no thought or feeling without expression. No matter how motionless you appear to be, if you reflect with any degree of intensity, there's always an execution of slight muscular movements. The eye, though shut, follows the movements of the imaginary objects, and the pupil is dilated or contracted according to the brightness or the remoteness of those objects. Respiration is accelerated or slowed. According to the course of your thoughts, the muscles contract correspondingly to your mental movements. This change of vibration persists until it awakens a corresponding vibration in the subject, which vibration then expresses itself in a physical fact. he becomes well. And the Word was made flesh. And the Word was made flesh. And the Word was made flesh. Energy, as you see it in the case of radio, is transmitted and received in a field, a place where changes in space occur. The field and energy are one and inseparable. The field or subject becomes the embodiment of the word or energy received. The thinker and the thought, the operator and the subject, the energy and the field are one. Were you still enough to hear the sound of your beliefs? Were you still enough to hear the sound of your beliefs? You would know what is meant by the music of the spheres. The mental sound you hear in prayer as coming from without are really produced by yourself. Self-observation will reveal this fact. As the music of the spheres is defined as the harmony heard by the gods alone, and is supposed to be produced by the movements of the celestial spheres, so too is the harmony you subjectively hear for others, heard by you alone, and is produced by the movements of your thoughts and feelings in the true kingdom or heaven within you. Oh my goodness, was that an amazing chapter? Oh my gosh. There is some doozies in there. Law of thought transmission. Oh, I hope I did it justice. There is some amazing pieces in this. I don't know what I want to say as very much my favorite piece. There's a lot in here. This music of the spheres really, really got me thinking inside. Were you still enough to hear the sound of your beliefs, you would know what is meant by the music of the spheres. The mental sound you hear in prayer as coming from without are really produced by yourself. Self-observation will reveal this fact. I just spoke on the belief I have of I live in a safe universe. When I started to incorporate that as a belief, I decided that I would not, and I'm just telling you what I did. Do not do this. This is what I did at that time in the supposed past. I decided not to wear my seatbelt, and I went. It's an old car, so it didn't have the nag alarm. So I went without wearing it, and I don't know what it was. It was just me staking the claim that I believe I live in a safe universe, and nothing befell me to have the need of that seatbelt or get in an accident or anything like that. But the idea was, it was a physical act, and I don't recommend you do that, but it was a physical action I took, making my claim and my conviction that I live in a safe universe. Of course, our cars now, they're different. The car I had then was different. That time I could unbuckle it like an older car, but today you have to have them on all the time, which the seatbelt isn't to me a thing that says I'm safe or not. It was the fact that at the time I needed to embed that belief within me. I needed to take an action. So what you take as an action to embed a belief is up to you. I don't recommend the seatbelt thing. I just recommend that you take any belief you want to instill in yourself and take an action to support it, to stake that claim. I am that I am. I was staking a claim. I am, and I convinced it in my subconscious, I am in a safe universe. I am that. I live in a safe universe. I am. So when I made the impression into my subconscious, I objectified it in my reality. I live in a safe universe. Here, where I am, it is a belief. Here, it wasn't a belief. I had to embed that. I had to be convicted. I had to have a conviction about it. I had to say to myself, I am that. I live in a safe universe. I am. And it became my new objectification. It became my new reality. Therefore, my beliefs are supported by that. And when I go and I have a self-conviction about another, that belief is embedded inside of that package I'm sending. So I'm trying to send gold the best I can. I'm trying to embed beliefs within my self-concept that matter. When I send a self-conviction of health, or one of a person getting a new job, or one of a person getting a new relationship, I'm trying to send all that I have as a belief. Well, actually, I can't hold anything back. It's actually going to be embedded. When I send that, it's going to have a vibratory correlate that matters. That vibration will make a difference because it's coming from me and me alone. These friends I have will receive it. We've been friends our whole lives. To a particular friend, I 2 videos ago that I called in mind, and I imagine hearing him say to me, that is someone I've had as a friend since, since junior high or high school as a matter of fact, maybe even before that. So the idea here is embed beliefs, totally possible, work on them, be convicted of them. I am that belief, whatever it is, I am. Objectify it in your reality. Then therefore, in your new conscious self, your new self-concept, your consciousness will be embedded with all that you believe. And when you send those abiding by the golden rule, they will be received according to the golden rule. And not only that, anyone else who thinks about you, only what they believe can be fitting to the golden rule will be received by you in your subconscious. Very, very important. And my other most favorite part was that golden rule piece. Very important stuff. Oh man, prayer, the art of believing. Oh my God. Chapter 5, I believe. Yes, chapter 5, law of thought transmission. Oh, we'll see you in the next video. Neville Goddard, Prayer, the Art of Believing, Chapter 6, Good Tidings. How beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publish peace, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation. A very effective way to bring good tidings to another is to call before your mind's eye the subjective image of the person you wish to help and have him affirm that he has done that which you desired him to do. Mentally hear him tell you that he has done it. This awakens within him the vibratory correlate of the state affirmed, which vibration persists until its mission is accomplished. It does not matter what it is you desire to have done or whom you select to do it. I said in the last video I was going to tell you what time 3 videos ago I sent a message to a person to text me, a friend of mine, and he did text last night at approximately 6:54. I said it was 8 o'clock, but I think I recorded that video earlier in the day, maybe before noontime, and I sent that to send me a text or a call, but I got the text at 6:54. Forgot to put that in the end of my last video, so there it is. Exactly on the same subject we're referring to. Let's repeat back a sentence. This awakens within him the vibratory correlate of the state affirmed, which vibration persists until its mission is accomplished. It does not matter what it is you desire to have done or whom you select to do it. As soon as you subjectively affirm that it is done, results follow. This very, very fascinating whole piece right here. It is the bridge of incidents where people are like automatons in your favor. They come together and just march. And they seem to have that one mission that you have imagined lovingly for in their purpose. It's very fascinating. But let me repeat a piece of this because we're going down that road. A very effective way to bring good tidings to another is to call before your mind's eye the subjective image of the person you wish to help and have him affirm that he has done that which you desired him to do. Mentally hear him tell you that he has done it. This awakens within him the vibratory correlate of the state affirmed, which vibration persists until its mission is accomplished. This is the part. Which vibration persists until its mission is accomplished. It does not matter what it is you desire to have done or whom you select to do it. As soon as you subjectively affirm that it is done, results follow. Failure can only result if you fail to accept the truth of your assertion or if the state affirmed would not be desired by the subject for himself or another. In the latter event, the state would realize itself in you, the operator. I have to bring it up. So my wife was working. This was a year ago at least, and she was going to work, and she had these multiple deadlines. And when she left the house, I was imagining lovingly that she was walking back in. I had my eyes closed, basically. I was imagining her walking back in, telling me all the deadlines were met, or that the deadlines, this one was met, that one's going to be met, and this other one looks good. So I imagined her walking back in the house later in the evening, and her telling me, "You're not going to believe it, all the deadlines were met." And I would do that. And it happened over multiple weeks and months. And what would affect her job on the other end of it, that those deadlines were met, was that the parties involved were a lot of employees would choose to voluntarily work overtime, which the company would request of them. So there was like automatons, literally. They went into 12-hour shifts 7 days a week, and they were just accomplishing the tasks to get these goals met. But it was the imagining lovingly that was set forth after she would leave. Then I would imagine it, and then I would imagine later. And then when she came in later and she did say such, then I would congratulate her. I would actually literally go, "Congratulations, high five," or I would hug her. I use high five as a confirmation that, hey, that came from somewhere. But the whole idea is that the objective kept, the subjective imagining became objective each and every time. She became a rising star there at that job, which was very wonderful for what we're talking about right now. And this is a good place for you to take the idea and run with it, use it for yourself. The seemingly harmless habit of talking to yourself is the most fruitful form of prayer. A mental argument with the subjective image of another is the surest way to pray for an argument. You are asking to be offended by the other when you objectively meet. He is compelled to act in a manner displeasing to you unless before the meeting you countermand or modify your order by subjectively affirming a change. Very possible and very probable if you just do it. Unfortunately, man forgets his subjective arguments, his daily mental conversations with others, and so is at a loss for an explanation of the conflicts and misfortunes of his life. As mental arguments produce conflicts, so happy mental conversations produce corresponding visible states of good tidings. Man creates himself out of his own imagination. Tattoo that on your forehead. Man creates himself out of his own imagination. That reminds me of the Seth material. You create your own reality. It's a lot of responsibility in either one of those statements. The former, man creates himself out of his own imagination. The latter, you create your own reality. Responsibility is at play here, big time. If the state desired is for yourself, and you find it difficult to accept as true what your senses deny, call before your mind's eye the subjective image of a friend and have him mentally affirm that you are already that which you desire to be. He's telling you, congratulations. You hear his voice congratulating you. This establishes in him, without his conscious consent or knowledge, the subjective assumption that you are that which he mentally affirmed. Which assumption, because it is unconsciously assumed, will persist until it fulfills its mission. Big bomb drop right there. If you find, I'm gonna repeat the whole piece, but understand that it will continue until its mission is accomplished within you. Let's repeat the whole piece. If the state desired is for yourself, I am healthy, I am in love and married, I am wealthy, I am free. Okay, any state, we know all states are available. In my Father's house are many mansions. I am all that is God. These are all different states. All are available. Any of them can be occupied by you, me, her, anybody can occupy any state. These are all states. Any of them are available to you, especially when you know someone else is occupying them, then it's occupiable. If you're here and you're a thousandaire and you want to be here, you want to be a millionaire, is there somebody in that state? If the answer is yes, then it's occupyable by not only you, but anybody else. And there's another state that's a trillionaire. If that state is occupied by somebody right now, it means anybody can occupy that state. This is not your only limitation to life. You can occupy any state that exists. In my Father's house are many mansions. You can occupy any state. If the state desired is for yourself, and you find it difficult to accept as true what your senses deny, call before your mind's eye the subjective image of a friend and have him mentally affirm that you are already that which you desire to be. He's congratulating you. He or she is congratulating you. Hey man, I just heard about your new opportunity and your whatever. I just heard that you just came into a lot of money. That's great news. I just heard about your new business opportunity. I just heard about your new investment. I just heard you just had an inheritance. It doesn't matter. Just have the basics. I just heard that you have come into a lot of money. When he affirms in your mentally, then he is staking the claim in you of your newfound wealth. Let's say that wealth is a subject. This establishes in him, without his conscious consent or knowledge, the subconscious assumption that you are that which he mentally affirmed, which assumption, because it is unconsciously assumed, will persist until it fulfills its mission. It's like a marching automaton within you. Its mission is to awaken you. Its mission is to awaken in you its vibratory correlate, which vibration, when awakened in you, realizes itself as an objective fact. You become that which you mentally, subjectively saw him congratulating you on your newfound wealth. It will march along until the objectification, and it's a fact. It won't stop. You push it and it keeps going. It's going to be in motion until. Another very effective way to pray for oneself is to use the formula of Job, who found that his own captivity was removed as he prayed for his friends. Now, I don't know how important there could be another chapter that is more important than this chapter, because once you realize how this works and you apply it for yourself, because that's where you want to experience it, to see it work, this chapter is a page and a half. I'm not done, by the way, I'm just halfway through, but the point is, this is very, very important. You must see yourself operate this law and reward it to yourself, so you can see when you give those rewards to others that they are going to be found. They're not going to be unfound. They're going to be found. When you reward yourself, even by your friends congratulating you on anything, on a pizza, doesn't matter. And I know I'm being facetious again, but nothing can be more important than to see the subjective realization of objective fact, which is your new reality. Another very effective way to pray for oneself is to use the formula of Job, who found that his own captivity was removed as he prayed for his friends. Fix your attention on a friend and have the imaginary voice of your friend tell you that he is or has that which is comparable to that which you desire to be or have. Okay, back to wealth. My friend called me and told me that he won the horse races that he was at, and he won the trifecta. I don't know the horse racing terminology, but I do have a friend who loves the horses. He calls me and tells me that he won the trifecta, and he came into a large sum of money, larger than he's ever come into. I hear that. Oh, I just lifted the tide right there among that friend. Again, we're focused on wealth. I have another friend who's looking for that new job, and you imagine lovingly for him, you convince yourself, he's calling you, telling you about the new job, making 25% more than he made before, working probably half as hard on that job, and he starts next Monday. Boom, the tide is lifted here, the tide is lifted here. You've mentally heard the conversations. The tide's lifting. This is what Job did. This is how Job freed himself. As you mentally hear and see him, feel the thrill of his good fortune and sincerely wish him well. I am so glad to hear that. That is great news. Congratulations. See yourself high-fiving. Congratulations. This awakens in him the corresponding vibration of the state affirmed, which vibration must then objectify itself as a physical fact. It must objectify itself as a physical fact. It isn't possibly, it must. It must. We are going to cross into, and the why I like discussing the Seth material with this Neville material is that in the Seth material, there's a phrase called probable realities. Here in the Neville material, all of his creations are done. It's the same thing. You're looking at these as all probable realities, then they all exist. Every version of you is also just one probable version of all of them that do already exist. In the Neville version, all of his creations are done. The version of you that is living as a thousandaire is also living as a millionaire and as a trillionaire. The only thing we're trying to bring together here and subjectively impress upon ourselves is the vibration of that quality that we want to exist in, which is just another probable reality, or it's another one of his creations that are done. All we're doing is changing the vibration of that which is our self-concept, that vibration, into the vibration of this self-concept. Repeating that sentence, this awakens in him the corresponding vibration of the state affirmed, which vibration must then objectify itself as a physical fact. You will discover the truth of the statement. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. The quality of mercy is twice blessed. It blesses him who taketh and him who giveth. My friend who just won at the racetrack and my friend who got the new job making 25% more money and is also going to be working much less effort. They taketh and then they giveth. It blesses him who taketh and him who giveth. Ah, doesn't it sound wonderful? Isn't it such a relief just to know that? Just to know that. How hard is it to pass on the blessings? The good you subjectively accept as true of others will not only be expressed by them, but a full share will be realized by you. Man, that's massive. A full share will be realized by you. If you need to, bust out your memo book. I don't have mine right here, but I've gone as far as trying to write down all my nieces and nephews and all their children's names, and I'll run through them. I've done this imagining lovingly, where I'll go through a neighborhood of friends, and where they live, and I'll just do a blessing on that one and on that one, and how that one's doing so much better, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'll just literally in my mind fly over the neighborhood and visit a house. where a friend used to be, because I'll just go through a neighborhood where I grew up, and I can imagine each person I know, and I can pass a blessing that way. Do it in whatever way you find comfortable, that you can do that for your nieces, your nephews, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, everybody. Maybe make a list. You have some pages that have your siblings and you have their children. And you one morning do this section of the family, the next morning do that section, or before you go to sleep. This is not hard to do, but those blessings you're passing along are coming to you. You're tied in. When you send that blessing to anybody else, you're tied in to where it came from. That subjective impression will go into consciousness, which will be picked up and realized. It won't stop. It won't stop marching. It will come to be. Therefore, you raise that tide for everybody around you, and that tide gets raised for you. Consciousness also accepts as true, subjectively for you, the same. You can see why the golden rule is so important now. The good you subjectively accept as true of others will not only be expressed by them, but a full share will be realized by you. Transformations are never total. Force A is always transformed into more than a force B. A blow with a hammer produces not only a mechanical concussion, but also heat, electricity, a sound, a magnetic change, and so on. The vibratory correlate in the subject is not the entire transformation of the sentiment communicated. The gift transmitted to another is like the divine measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, so that after the 5,000 are fed from the 5 loaves and 2 fish, 12 baskets full are left over. I do not know if there is a more important chapter in all of the material. Each one's my favorite. Good Tidings, chapter 6, Prayer, the Art of Believing. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful chapter. There is some good uns in here. Oh my gosh. The formula of Job, I think, is one that can't be ignored. Okay, let me call this one my favorite. He found that his own captivity was removed as he prayed for his friends. I mean, there could be nothing more obvious than raising the tide. You raise the tide for any of your friends, and it doesn't matter that it's just money. It could also be love. Here we have a friend that's in love. Excuse my artistic renderings. And this doesn't mean two loves. This means fully in love. This is the love capacity that you are in now. Then you bless that onto your friend. Or this is the love capacity of you now single, and you know that you're a loving person, and you want to be in love with another. Okay? Then you want to give that love to an offspring. There's the Trinity, Father, the Mother, and the Son. All of these are going to raise the tide. You have also, I don't even know the symbol for wealth, or could I draw it? I think it's a snake around a cross. I don't know what it is, but that could be wealth. Health. It could be the same thing. You are healthy, and you wish upon your significant other healthiness, and so on. Health, wealth, wisdom, love, freedom. You raise the tide all around, and everything will float with that, including yourself. I think that is very profound. The formula of Job. Oh, great chapter. Prayer, the Art of Believing, chapter 6. Good Tidings. Man, oh man. All right, we'll see you in the next chapter. Neville Goddard, Prayer, the Art of Believing, chapter 7, the greatest prayer. Imagination is the beginning of creation. Imagination. You imagine what you desire, and then you believe it to be true. Every dream could be realized by those self-disciplined enough to believe it. People are what you choose to make them. A man is according to the manner in which you look at him. You must look at him with different eyes before he will objectively change. 2 men looked from the prison bars. One saw the mud, and the other saw the stars. Centuries ago, Isaiah asked the question, "Who is blind but my servant, or deaf as my messenger that I sent? Who is blind as he that is perfect, and blind as the Lord's servant? The perfect man judges not after appearances, but judges righteously. He sees others as he desires them to be. He hears only what he wants to hear. He sees only the good in others. In him is no condemnation, for he transforms the world with his seeing and hearing. The king that sitteth on the throne scattereth the evil with his eye." Sympathy for living things, agreement with human limitations, is not in the consciousness of the king, because he has learned to separate their false concepts from their true being. To him, poverty is but the sleep of wealth. He does not see caterpillars, but painted butterflies to be, not winter, but summer sleeping, not man in want, but Jesus sleeping. Jesus of Nazareth, who scattereth the evil with his eye, is asleep in the imagination of every man. Jesus of Nazareth, who scattereth the evil with his eye, is asleep in the imagination of every man. And out of his own imagination must man awaken him by subjectively affirming, I am Jesus. Then and only then he will see Jesus, for man can only see what is awake within himself. The holy womb is man's imagination. The holy child is that conception of himself which fits Isaiah's definition of perfection. Heed the words of St. Augustine. Too late have I loved thee, for behold, thou wert within, and it was without that I did seek thee. Heed the words of St. Augustine. Too late have I loved thee, for behold, thou wert within, and it was without that I did seek thee. Oh boy. It is your own consciousness that you must turn as to the only reality. There and there alone you awaken that which is asleep. Though Christ 1,000 times in Bethlehem be born, if he is not born in thee, thy soul is still forlorn. Indeed. Whoa. Man, oh man. Some wonderful pieces of information right here. I am all that is God. Our self-concepts, we are sent out by him to learn for him. We are part of him. The Father and I are one. The Father is greater than I. God, Lord, Jesus, Buddha, all that is, the source, divinity. We are of him until we say, I am Jesus. Remember, be still and know that I am God. It's the same thing. I am Jesus. Too late have I loved thee, for behold, thou wert within, and it was without that I did seek thee. Without is out here. Without's in the world. Within. Within. Though Christ 1,000 times in Bethlehem be born, if he is not born in thee, thy soul is still forlorn. If he is not born within thee, I am that I am. I am that I am. I am, be still and know that I am God. It's where you're from. He made you in his image, and yet forgot in becoming you where he was from. Your job, literally, is to wake up and remember who you are. I am him. I am God. Be still and know that I am God. It's a nice, calming feeling. There's no panic involved. There's no pressure involved. I am that. I am. Creation is finished. All creations are done already. You call your creation into being by feeling the reality of the state you would call. A mood attracts its affinities, but it does not create what it attracts. As sleep is called by feeling, I am sleepy, so too is Jesus Christ called by the feeling, I am Jesus Christ. Man sees only himself. Nothing befalls man that is not the nature of himself. People emerge out of the mass, betraying their close affinity to your moods as they are engendered. You meet them seemingly by accident, but find they are intimates of your moods. Because your moods continually externalize themselves, you could prophesy from your moods that you, without search, would soon meet certain characters and encounter certain conditions. Therefore, call the perfect one into being by living in the feeling, I am Christ. For Christ is the one concept of self through which can be seen the unveiled realities of eternity. Very deep and important, the greatest prayer. Our behavior is influenced by our subconscious assumption respecting our own social and intellectual rank and that of the one we are addressing. The previous bit was very profound. Again, let me go back because this is very, very positively interesting. Nothing befalls man that is not of the nature of himself. Nothing comes into your life that is not of the nature of you. People emerge out of the mass, betraying their close affinity to your moods as they are engendered. You attract that which you are. You don't attract that which you want, you attract that which you are. You meet them seemingly by accident, but find they are intimates of your moods. Because your moods continually externalize themselves, you could prophesy from your moods, that you, without search, would soon meet certain characters and encounter certain conditions. Your moods. And again, he's going to go here where you can keep that mood. Wonderful. Therefore, call the perfect one into being by living in the feeling, I am Christ. I am Christ. For Christ is the one concept of self through which can be seen the unveiled realities of eternity. Our behavior is influenced by our subconscious assumption respecting our own social and intellectual rank and that of the one we are addressing. Let us seek for and evoke the greatest rank, and the noblest of all is that which disrobes man of his mortality and clothes him with uncurbed immortal glory. Let us assume the feeling, I am Christ. And our whole behavior will subtly and unconsciously change in accordance with that assumption. It won't be long before you go from I am Christ to also you are Christ, and you, and you, and you. It'll be very quick. Our subconscious assumptions continually externalize themselves that others may consciously see us as we subconsciously see ourselves, and tell us by their actions what we have subconsciously assumed ourselves to be. Therefore, let us assume the feeling, I am Christ. I am Christ. Until our conscious claim becomes our subconscious assumption that we all with open face, beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image from glory to glory. Let God awake and his enemies be destroyed. There is no greater prayer for man. End of chapter. Whoa. There's a lot right here at the end. As I was just saying, once you do this here, then you realize and recognize that everyone else is also, again, you're tripling that finger pointing thing. But here, the end is the most potent piece, my automatic favorite piece right here. Therefore, let us assume the feeling, I am Christ, until our conscious claim becomes our subconscious assumption that we all with open face beholding as in a glass the glory of the Lord are changed into the same image from glory to glory. Let God awake and his enemies be destroyed. There is no greater prayer for man. I don't think that letting God awake means anything to do with what is not the golden rule. Excuse all the negatives. But I don't think that when you let God awake within you, that the golden rule wouldn't automatically exist, because it would automatically exist. If I am Christ and I recognize that you are Christ, then we have the golden rule in action. We have it in realization. We have it in being. We have it automatically, not only on the surface consciously, but below the surface subconsciously. So whenever you're imagining lovingly for another and you're you're impressing with conviction your subconscious, you have also embedded that I am Christ. And that the one I'm imagining lovingly for, whether that's another form of myself or of a friend, I'm doing this through the golden rule, because I realized if I am Christ, he is Christ. We all are. So every blessing is going to hit the mark. Every blessing will not miss the mark at all. It will hit the mark, and it will continue until it is objectified. Those blessings will matter. You'll follow, like the previous chapter, the work of Job. What a wonderful chapter. Oh my gosh. Prayer, the art of believing. 7 chapters of very, very potent Neville. I mean, really, really good. Each of these chapters could have been an hour easily, but we'll cut it off right there. Next book up is going to be The Search. Hang on for that.